Days a week. We can sing along. There's some hoes in this house. There's some hoes in this house.
Certified freak, 7 days a week. Wet ass pussy, make that pull out.
Good day, good night, good evening, good morning, good day, good afternoon, ladies.
I don't know why you cut the music so short. You embarrassed?
Because we're gonna get copyright infringement, okay? And I know if I know there's one thing in this world I know for absolute certain is that Cardi B is about her money, is about her check, okay? And she will be coming for her money. So don't be out here trying to play Cardi B and trying to get us in trouble, okay?
So, longer than 20. What is it? Longer than 20 seconds?
I mean, this song being so popular, I ain't even trying to give them that much to go. Wait. Yeah, before I go, the link is out. This should be a link.
Okay,
I love that. That was like my anthem for like 2 weeks. And then I switched.
A whole 2 weeks?
Yep. No.
Man, Andreen, you are hardcore.
Oh. I was mildly tempted to get TikTok as a result of trying to catch people.
Listen, it's been great. It's been highly entertaining.
I mean, I have been I can't. I'm about this point. I'm trying to get YouTube off of my phone. Trying to there's so many things. It's just too many distractions. Just too many. Really too many distractions.
I don't have YouTube on my phone, actually.
I like how you all started without even saying where you are.
I know, but Janine is all over the place. You see, this is what happened when WAP is playing somewhere, okay? But before I go any further, let me introduce good day, good evening, good night, and good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. Welcome to another exciting episode of Real Tennis Fan Livecast. It is not about Harry Potter. There's no magic. There is no minstrel. There is no goblins, ghouls, or wands, right? I think that's about it. There's no spell casting. But we're here to discuss tennis and all the happenings that's going on. And I think last time we had a discussion, we were in a whole different era, but there might be a new era coming. I don't know. This is America. This is 2020. It's not over yet. But before I go any further, let me introduce my co-hostesses with the mostesses. I am nothing without these ladies. We have Janina from Farn, Ohio. I'm trying to mix it up.
How dare you?
I know, right? How are you, Janina? She's not ready for introduction yet.
Oh my God, Janina.
What up, yo?
I can't with you right now.
You don't need to call your husband. I haven't been speed dial. I come get you before you get somebody in trouble.
Tony said there's some lawsuits in this house.
Oh, bless. I mean, my sense is her husband could tell us all about it, I guess.
I know, right? But it's for another podcast, not this episode, okay? And I've not eaten yet, so we don't want.
Thanks for recognizing Tony that Reels has completely gone out of sequence and messed up the whole universe. We were just counting on doing everything right to get out of 2020.
I know, but it's 2020, and I mean, nothing goes right in 2020.
So true.
So we have Andreen from Solely Tennis Travel. How are you, girl?
I am doing very, very well. I'm very well because I took off on Wednesday. Mm-hmm. And I turned on my out of office, and I have disappeared. It is fantastic, and I don't expect to read any emails until Tuesday morning.
Do you know I forgot to take work off?
What?
I'm not even kidding. We have been so fucking crazy slammed at work, and there've been so many people out. I didn't even realize that it was like an option because it's holiday time to take some extra time off, and I legit forgot. So I've been working.
No, I was counting down the days, so I was gonna mess that up.
So bad. How are you, Reels?
I am good. I mean, I'm just wondering how is the universe for Andrina and she hasn't traveled anywhere. You just call her,
everything's out of whack.
Just Andre now. We just don't even say story.
Okay, speaking of not traveling, so I got up this morning. I was like, okay, it's Black Friday. It's time for me to make some travel plans.
What'd you book?
Why did I go up in my computer? I was like, okay, it's time for me to return to Jamaica.
Are you pretend typing right now?
Yes. I was
Okay.
like, Jamaica. I'd like to come to Jamaica, please, next year. Jamaica's like, sure, come on in. We might be ready for you. So book that trip. And then I went and I double checked my Olympics tickets. I'm like, will I be able to go to Japan? Probably not, but I'm just still looking at it anyway. I really did wake up really refreshed and ready and thought, it's time, damn it, it's time.
Oh man.
But can I tell you, I'm on the phone last night with my mother, who is, by the way, I'll tell you all, a real live nurse.
Mm-hmm.
Not just a nurse practitioner. Why did I say to my mother, let's talk about this vaccine? And my mom was like, let's not talk about this vaccine for round one, okay?
I'm going to need one of Pablo's drinks if we got to talk about this mess.
I was like, Mom, you are a nurse. You know the science. She said, listen, I know the science, but can we wait?
Amen. Amen to Mama Andrine. Listen, I don't trust it. One of my doctors did say, though, that he'd be first in line to get it. I said, really? He was like, oh, yeah. And I was like, really? Okay.
But okay, this is just going to prove how much I love tennis. I really did think about it, though. I was like, I might do this just for the tennis travel.
I don't think I would travel for tennis. I would travel for family and maybe friends. Reels, of course. I know. But you see what? You see, when I'm on a ventilator, I don't want to be thinking, God, I didn't even get to the club. I didn't even get to the
Listen, you know that's exactly what you're gonna be thinking. You're gonna be like, I didn't get my freak on one last time.
Exactly, right? You be like, my ass should have been home. I could have been cute on the fucking couch.
Oh my God. So I have a family member who's in one of the trials. Ooh. She's pretty confident that she did not get the placebo, that she got the vaccine. It's the Moderna trial. Ooh. And she said it wasn't bad. She said after the first injection, she felt a little bit achy and a headache. That's it. We're hearing horrible stories, and they're like, oh, you have to tell the public what the side effects are. And they're worried that people are going to take the first dose and get so sick that they don't come back for the second because they're afraid of, feeling that way again. But I mean, everyone's different. A lot of people get sick after they get the flu vaccine, even though they say absolutely that can't happen. But it does.
Like a little bit of a mild fever. Just a mild fever after I've done the flu vaccine.
Well, people keep saying, but I mean, there are people who've called in on radio shows that I've listened to and saying, they've been in the study, and I didn't know that people can actually talk about it. But I am, though I'm trying to be skeptical, but I'm just like, look, it's either that one way or the other. Okay, I agree with your mom. I don't necessarily think I want to be in the first round. All of these, it's not even essential workers I'm worried about that they should try this on. It's the people who be running their ass and just not keeping still. Like, who just like, fuck it, I'm going to church anyway. God will provide. Those kind of crazy people.
Well, I work with one of those.
According to the Supreme Court, you should go to church, dude.
Yeah.
And then the Pope is like, keep your ass at home. And then the Pope is like, keep your ass at home. Like, he's like, what's wrong with y'all?
Listen, I had this old black woman at work said about one of my other coworkers who has a new addition to her family. Her sister had twin boys. They're 3 months old now. And, she was like, oh, I'm so sad that we don't get to have like a big Thanksgiving gathering because I want to, love on the babies. And the older black woman says, just love on them babies. We need community spread. I said, oh, Jesus.
Yeah, you see, those are the people you have to give the vaccine to because they just want to still, no matter what. You know what I mean? Like, people.
I was recently hanging out with a baby, and I was like, this baby is so adorable. I was like, wait, what's its viral load, though? What's its viral capacity? It was super cute. That's the secret. That was like in my mind. I was like, I'm not too close to this baby right now, but I had to go in for a cuddle. But luckily, I've been isolating because, I'm not about that life anymore.
Yeah, people really believe in Pablo. People really believe in the community spread. I don't know where they're getting the science from. I mean, because we don't encourage community spread for anything
do you know
else.
where they're getting the signs? They're getting the signs the same way where they got the cop news, SVU.
This is the thing, though. I mean, at this point, I'm willing to trust bro science before I trust these people, and that's problematic because look, this day and a half of bro science. I mean, like, as soon as I hear bro science, I'm shutting down. I just roll my hands like I'm
hates bro science even more than he hates white girl feminism, and he hates white girl feminism.
I mean, this is incredible.
You see what Yvette said in the chat?
Yep, 4 years.
My niece, a former biologist who used to manage quality control for one of the big pharmaceuticals, says she's not taking that vaccine for at least 4 years. Before we go too far down the vaccine
let me bring us all back because
yes.
So you know what? We have just not been the generation to experience the rollout of a vaccine. Like people before have done this before. You know what I mean? Like this has been our lifetime. Maybe we were too young to experience it, but I was thinking to my mom, I was like, God, I hope we weren't going to be like this when they were rolling out all the different vaccines. You remember when you had to go to school? I had to take all of them.
Yeah, so did I. And I never felt
a little bit. Like I think we may know too much, and it's just playing with our brain.
It's been produced too quickly.
Well, for sure.
I think that's my fear.
That's the scary part.
But you know what it is? It's speed and attention, right? Like this was a whole world issue. So maybe all that brain power came together with direct focus. And that is why we've been able to have this miraculous vaccine.
Andreen, we've had all this brain power come together and try to get an AIDS vaccine for 25 years.
No,
we don't have one.
Not with the same sense of urgency. Remember, they were judging people.
But they've been working on it, and we've got nothing.
Because a lot of AIDS vaccine has been largely funded by the AIDS. I think most of the AIDS researchers from private equity. Well, actually, no, there is no private equity for much of these funding. They're actually getting government taxpayers' money. And they just try to pretend it, but there has been no public will.
Never there. The urgency was never there. It didn't shut the world down.
But we're still working on it, and it's still unsuccessful. That doesn't change.
I mean, all I'm saying is there's like political will plus monetary will to have an effective vaccine.
I mean, and look at Pablo. He's like, no, vaccine is death for big pharma. I mean, they need sick people. Period.
Well, theoretically they do, but we still need to move on. Big pharma still needs us to get other diseases.
Right.
Yes, but like Pablo just said, pharma wants dependency, not cures. That's the truth.
Well, here's the thing, though. But COVID doesn't allow us to do anything.
To do anything else.
Not a damn thing.
Down. So we got, you know what Big Pharma said? Big Pharma said, listen, let us calculate our odds here.
Let's do this. We'll let you keep cancer.
We need a cure for this because we need people to get up out of their houses and go do stuff.
And spend money and get sick and take our other drugs.
No, but I mean, I understand people's hesitancy, but we're going to have to we're going to have to trust it.
Well, if you're going to go to Australia just like, you better take that shit, though.
Well, clearly Andreen is on the pro-vaccination, going to get it. You'll be the first of the three of us, it sounds like, unless I'm forced to. No, I won't be forced to. I'm afraid that they're going to try to force me to working in healthcare, but that's gonna be ugly. But it sounds like you'll be the first of the three of us here, if it's all by choice. So you can give us updates about how sick you are.
Actually, seeing that I don't have any children, like any
you would do it.
I would do it. I think, just because I think at some point
he's like, I'm going to take one for the team.
Yeah, I think I would definitely do, because I mean, like, there is no other way. I mean, I won't be the first in the line. You know what I mean? I won't be camping outside. Because, if I don't have COVID when I go there, I probably will get it before I leave there. So I'm going to wait when there's a quiet office so I can just go in. And just,
it's a good seg into it. Because, I mean, Pablo's asking we're seeing, it's so funny you're asking the question, because we're seeing the urgency of this come up right now with Australia. Australia has succeeded where others have failed, or at least Victoria has. And it's like, listen, why would I introduce new people into this
and irresponsible people? people who are not taking this serious. And I think this is why I think we're gonna have to get a vaccine, because it's one of those things. Because in many ways, we are at literally almost every country that a place prior to this is worse than March and April and May. Like America is getting 1 million cases every week and growing.
Listen,
right?
let me tell
Italy
you,
is back to 700 and something cases. So unless this virus is working in ways which we don't fully understand, and that's part of my equation, that we don't fully understand this virus, therefore the vaccine might not be so effective. But which might we might need to investigate whether or not people are not being reinfected and not aware of this. This is attributed to the numbers. But I mean, like, I do not blame Australia for making this rule, because particularly tennis players, nah.
So
yeah, I can't come out
reiterate. What is the rule? Are they considering it? Or or have they declared it?
So what I think it's very clear. I think the airline is saying you have to prove that you've had a vaccine, and they have to have stringent proof, because people are faking test results, and I'm sure they're gonna fake vaccination. Or you have to quarantine for 2 weeks, and this quarantine might not be that you're allowed to, because there's question whether or not you can go outside and travel and practice, because that's what players, I think, and it's going to cut into when they're going to have it. And interesting enough, I think the Australian Open is going to be moved. It's going to be pushed back, which is funny because they've always spoken about we can't do this, right? We're at this perfect time. And and we have another issue that people try to pretend it doesn't exist, climate concerns, because it's hot.
Well, how far back can they really push it, though? They could
I
probably
think they're thinking about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's a month. It's 2 weeks, I think it is, if I've read correctly. It's 2
that
weeks
makes sense.
because they're trying to think. But what I do not understand about players, and I think Australia has to put their foot down, because one, US Open and French Open seem to have operated without stringent rules and regulation. They were doing things were all over the place. That what's that guy named? That's Zverev, and what's that guy named? Adrian Manarino. That Manarino situation, that Kiki situation, and the
that was messy.
Counties was very, very messy, where players couldn't be in certain places, and et cetera, et cetera. That was all problematic. And let's not speak about the French Open and that messy rules. And if we've noticed, I'm not saying tennis contributed to this, but wherever you've had major sporting events, you've had a crisis thereafter. You've had Paris, you've had New York City is going up, and particularly the areas where those people were in, the outer boroughs.
If you listen to what some of the players said, though, New York handled it better than Paris, even though New York wasn't great. It was more consistent. The rules were more clear about how you moved, where you were to move, what you should and shouldn't do. In Paris, you want to go sightseeing? Okay, have a good time. That wasn't an option in New York. It sounds like Australia is saying, you're going to take the vaccine. You're going to provide proof of the vaccine. If you opt not to get the vaccine, you better be here 2 weeks to be in the bubble, or you don't play. That's what they're saying. So
why are they making a claim about the vaccine? Are they assuming the vaccine will be ready to be distributed?
Well,
are they talking about the quarantining?
No. They're assuming that the vaccine will be available. And I mean, if we're to believe things, the vaccine will start being distributed on some level within the next 4 to 8 weeks. That will happen. Now that pushes us right into January, right? Because we're about to start December.
Right.
So here's another thing, though. Every single one of these vaccines are 2 doses. So unless these athletes have some way of starting the cycle early, I don't really know how that works, that everybody gets the vaccine before it's time to start the Australian.
Oh, they're not going to. They can't. I mean, first of all, you have to presume that.
And you have to wait where you were. You have to be where you were.
Yeah, and also you can't presume that every player is going to have access to the vaccine, because we have no idea what the distribution plan
is. And it's an international sport.
Yeah.
Pablo,
but they're saying you have to arrive 2 weeks before the tournament, and you have to quarantine.
Pablo, I'm not saying that. I just want to be clear, Pablo. I'm not saying that these sporting events are the direct causing of increased numbers. I'm simply saying, when you look at Australia's point of view, when you see these players on social media running reckless, I mean, US Open began with the French team supposed to have been almost kicked out of the tournament, and they allowed them to stay. They had a positive test within the camp. And then you find out from other players, oh, Benoit was the positive player. He's been all over the place, touching
all over everywhere. Yeah.
So I mean, they're not about to say, okay, that's fine. You look at Paris. Paris had the Tour de France continued in Paris. Spain had the Vuelta. Italy had the Giro d'Italia. They had major sporting event for people. I mean, there were no crowds, but soon after, I mean, you saw these large numbers. And I mean, I think people went back with this sort of kid. New York people got reckless. Do you see people running around in restaurants, outside of restaurants, that think it's safe because it's on the sidewalk? I mean, I don't understand how these things work. But I think
the one good thing about Australia is they have at least evidence of being able to bring the
numbers down.
The numbers
and they have a plan.
They actually have knowledge of what worked. And I would assume, and given the fact that they have worked so hard and their population have been so diligent about getting themselves down to zero, they don't have a reason to risk the Australian Open. Like, it doesn't make sense to me unless people are willing to. What I want to know is, are people going to be signing things? Are they going to be signing what are those disclaimers or whatever the heck they need to sign? Or how are you going to hold players accountable? Because as we know, this is a sloppy group. They don't care about the rules. I mean, I do think Australia will probably do a better job of clearly identifying what the protocols are. And I think they'll hold to it because I think their population will demand that they hold to it. Because
the Australians are never shy about letting you know how they feel about something.
I mean, I think it was too vague in the other places. I think the government was too loosey-goosey with their expectations and too wishy-washy about what it meant for them to hold the sport. So
and I think players, and I think honestly, I think for the large part, I think players expected to be accommodated as though this were a normal situation. I didn't think players were willing.
No sacrifice. It's so weird.
Exactly. Players were willing. Players pretended that, like, oh my God, all of these rules, it's like we're in prison. There's a pandemic. Y'all talked about money. Y'all talk about put this sport back on. Right? Because y'all wanted the money, right? Granted, the same set of people collected the checks, and when it was time to help lower people, y'all refused to do anything about it. There has been no real protocol other than Wimbledon, and the one tournament that didn't have any tournament, they paid people. They gave people some money. And when it was time to do the thing, y'all didn't want to do it. Y'all didn't want any strangers. Y'all wanted to run all over New York City, and then pretending like this was fun and games. And people had, I mean, like, I think about Naomi Osaka, who said, literally, my grandmother's right there, in the same borough I'm playing right now, this tournament. My grandmother, I can literally walk there, but I can't. I am willing to sacrifice that. But half of these players out here were just like,
they're not doing that.
They're not doing that. And I think Australia can, and it's a lot of players. Imagine each draw is 128. Single player plus doubles.
Is Australia going to have qualifying?
Probably
I don't
not.
think so. I think people are going to push off qualies. And
this is why I think it's good. Well,
these kids, I mean, even the basic do not touch each other when y'all get up at the net. They just like, fuck it, we're gonna hug each other.
They do. It was a rough match. Let's have a nice sweaty hug and exchange all the fluid.
People get on Twitter, we're just like, this is so sweet. No, this is not okay. but let's put tennis aside. I mean, honestly, I mean, people are not, I don't know if this is human nature or whether this is just us being, whatever, but people weren't even willing to give up Thanksgiving. Travel in America went up in this last week.
No, but
and
we should probably not talk about America as a...
No, but let me just say this. I do not blame people for doing that, because if this country took this seriously, they would have canceled flights. You can't tell people don't travel and then have flights running.
Flights available, exactly.
Come on, that doesn't make any. That's like a mixing. You're like, please, and then you beg people. Then you're telling people it's their fault. No, if you really, really wanted to save everyone at Thanksgiving, you would have said, you know what? These next 6 weeks are vitally important. We actually have the end in sight. This is the thing for me that I don't understand. I don't understand the government's appetite at this moment, because you actually have vaccines available. So there's an end in sight. So you can push people towards that. It's not like in the beginning when you're like, we don't know how long this is going to go on. You could actually, indicate a timeline to folks and say, listen, just put our heads down. We're going to cancel flights. We're going to do what we need to do, but we're just going to have to marshal ourselves. On my local TV station, because of course I'm in LA, and we just got like an emergency alert, and God, the governor's like, shut it all down. Everything is shut down. And I was thinking to myself, well, that's really nice, but you still had flights coming in and out. Like you
listen,
had the ability to turn that
I
off.
currently am in a level 4 area. Nothing's shutting down. You know what we have? A 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. curfew. That's what they did.
Yeah,
no, that's it. That's it. Some of the school districts have decided to go 100% virtual. Those are the only changes. We have a curfew and we have kids not going to school. Nothing else is shut down. The numbers in Ohio, where I am right now, are higher than when they were before. We're not shutting down. We shut everything down several months ago.
I know New York isn't going to try to do that.
Can I get some clarity for someone, anyone in the chat? I was trying to figure this out because I saw people making comments about it. So are there people that the Australian Open government, are there Australian citizens that the Australian government did not bring home, and so they're stranded? And people want them to have some sort of like opportunity to come home before the tennis players do?
No, I think that Australia has been allowing repatriation flights, and they have to quarantine them, because I think the cases when they had brought it down to close to zero, all of the cases that they had were from people coming home. They are allowing repatriation flights.
Oh no, but I thought some people said that they weren't able to get on those flights. They weren't able to come home.
I think because there's stringent rules to get onto the flight. The repatriation flights don't just happen. I think you have to go through a certain hub to get to the flight. It all depends. Some of these are different. I know for the I know in one case in the Caribbean, Trinidad and Tobago, the flight is every 10 days out of JFK. So if you're in this area, you have to try to make your way there. You have to have a test. You have to contact someone, and I think you have to they have you have to go on the embassy, and I think each country has its own particular rule, and I think you have to quarantine nonetheless.
So where is this quarantine taking place at? That's always an interesting question.
Well, most countries, some countries give you the option of staying at a hotel. I don't know how the rules.
So what we have these fucking COVID. Because you're going to have to quarantine sometimes, even if you're negative. So then they want to stick you in a hotel.
Oh yeah, no, I don't know how it works.
No. I have a friend right now who's actually in a COVID hotel, because she flew, I think, to Korea, and she's got to be in the hotel room with her family for 14 days. They don't leave the room at all. People drop food off for them.
That's how China seems to work.
Yeah. And I think what had happened previously in Victoria is they did have a COVID hotel. And I think they had a spread because some of the security guards, I guess, at the hotels were having sex with some of the patients.
My God.
That was supposedly what had happened, I think. But I think now they know better.
God, men are just
now they know. I love
I know in the case of Barbados, my friend flew from Italy several weeks ago, and she was supposed to get a test, but Italy numbers start going up, and that's the other issue. Most places demand that you have a negative test within 3 days. Ooh. The problem is that if you take the test 3 days before, there is no guarantee, because numbers are going up, so many tests are being taken, you will get results within 3 days. That happened to her, but she was taken to I'm sure they had the precaution at the airport, and she was transported to a location. She could stay at a hotel. I don't know what the protocols was at a hotel, but before she went to the government facility, they were sprayed down. They were sanitized. They were told, these are the rules. They were given meals and snacks. They were told, to wear a mask when outside and don't get in contact with people. I think she shared a room. But I don't know how the dimension, but everyone, you were tested when you got there and then tested again. And I think everyone cleared out of the hotel. Area. They were all negative.
No cost is too much to security. But so let's roll into the tennis. So as we think about the COVID piece, I think that I think the idea that tennis is going to return back to normal in 2021 is kind of unrealistic.
I think it's very
well. Most tournaments are saying that they're going to have a 2 week event.
How are you gonna have 2 weeks? You already
Well,
have like what,
well,
you gotta
no,
control
I think
them.
they're going to try to concentrate. I think this is the look. We all know tennis doesn't always produce its brightest and best, right? It never puts that on the table. Let's be 100 about that, right? If there's a fucked up route, tennis is going to take. If there's a fucked up route available, tennis is going to take that. But I think as this is a partnership between players and tournaments, I think the route, as we suspected earlier when we had this discussion earlier in the year, is that smaller tournaments are going to get gobbled up. That much is sure, right? I think they're going to probably try to keep the challenger level is going to some extent. But again, how you get there has to be a protocol around this. But tennis is moving across countries and international. Everything about tennis is international travel. So I think the larger tournaments like the Madrids and the Italian Open and whatever, they're going to try to offer like a more like a Miami and Indian Wells type tournament where you come there, you quarantine, and you stay there for a while, and then you try to play several rounds. I mean, but the crazy thing is
That's
that
actually a good idea. It's time to
it's
like
a good
block
idea,
that
but to
calendar.
get eliminated, tennis is in and you're out. You know what I mean? Like,
But I'm
it's-
curious, are they going to try to start letting fans back in because that's dangerous? And I feel like
think no
certain
place.
places will try to do that where others won't. But
I don't think any of the places where you have major tennis tournaments outside of Australia, I don't think anybody
don't
would
have the
allow them to have
capacity yet,
numbers.
yeah.
They just
We don't have
can't.
is Australia planning on having fans?
I think
I
they said
mean-
limited. They were looking at it.
They were looking at it.
They were looking at the capacity. Listen, there's no reason for them not to if they have if wherever they're hosting it has had no COVID,
And
right?
they've had sporting events there since COVID, right? And they've had crowd because we saw Ash Barty at an event.
Yeah,
So-
they have had they have had sporting events. That's true. I mean, I think it's actually this should be a blessing in disguise for some. For those people who've been saying that the tennis calendar doesn't make any sense, it's time for us to put like the tours together. I still don't understand why we don't have like a proposed unified tour right now. I thought this was on the table. What happened to that?
Well, stop
Well,
it.
we already know the WTA has finally come around and realized that they should assign points and call the points the name of the tournament. Hey,
but
this
not
is a
so,
500.
but not so fast because apparently the WTA number doesn't correlate with the points. It's just
It's just all for
stylistic.
show.
You know what I mean? Because 1,000 is easier than saying 975. Like,
Premier level 72.
Thank
not
God.
necessarily.
I know Real took credit for that, but we've been bitching and moaning about that number, that game.
well, I mean, all of us. We should all
Couldn't
take
keep
credit. For
track.
it.
Mm-mm.
I know the silent listeners out there do know that this is how it is. But before I go in, I haven't even said hello to the fans: Zenobia, Pablo, Tony, Deb, Yvette. In case I missed anyone. Good night and good day. Welcome to a podcast. We've got straight into the c'est moi, and we just jump right into the conversation. And in case I missed anyone, lovely drama girl and Angie is here as well. I know. I hope I may have forgot other people.
You
but I'm not.
probably did. You're horrible.
But I mean,
No, I think
Andre,
that
you do bring an excellent point, though. I do think you would have assumed that in light of this continuing pandemic and situation, and you're talking about the viability of your sport, particularly when you have an infrastructure where you are generally in the same place all the time, that you could probably get, this thing together and be a united front, at least just temporarily, and see, this is a perfect moment to experiment, to see how it can work. But
yeah, and it's
I
not
mean-
happening, unfortunately. But I think I think really tennis in 2021 isn't going to look very different from the second half of 2020. It's not.
True.
I really don't think it is. And if it does somehow look a whole lot different as far as, how players get to a tournament, how they behave once they're there, whether or not there are fans there, ball people and lines people, God, I think that'll be a huge mistake. I think it'll be a huge mistake if they try to take everything back to normalcy quickly.
Yeah, they should continue to operate like it's an emergency scenario and say, listen.
Yeah, I mean, I
until
think that
everything comes back.
I
and we
think that
feel
people
assured, we should continue to have an altered schedule,
Mm-hmm.
and we should do as many tournaments together as a group as we possibly can, and follow your motto reels of like, okay, we're going to elongate the calendar. So it's like for a particular tournament, it's 2 weeks. And then you truncate the year, you break it up into chunks. I would rather that than to like aggressively try to get your 60 plus tournaments going.
Well, you know what? I mean, Australia is in a really unique position to be the first major tournament to happen post the beginning of this pandemic. And when we finally know a little bit more than when we started, to set the bar and let that be a high bar.
Mm-hmm.
If they're successful and everyone else doesn't follow their plan, oh boy.
Well, it's a good, you know what? It's good that it's fallen on their hands, because the French will definitely not do it. In the US, you know, we can't ever set any bar anymore. Our bars are on the floor. So let's hand it off to the Aussies.
Well, I'm hoping with the incoming new administration in the US that maybe we'll take some things more seriously, and the bar will be set a little bit higher.
But I would have thought
like
that
a tiny desk government.
But you know what I found was really interesting and crazy, that I thought, you know, like, for sure these idiots are gonna figure this out, that the sporting community would have been pushing government to be like, you need a global response for COVID.
I know.
We cannot operate because, I mean, this can't be. I know Australia has been doing their little whatever little cup they have down there, and France been doing the little something, whatever the case may be. But no one is interested in that. No one's watching that. We don't know these people. You know what I mean? That these players, social media, TikTok is getting more views than the actual matches. No shade, no.
I mean, so let's talk about that. But have you watched anything? Because
I mean,
I've not watched one ball, been interested in it since the French Open, and I wasn't really interested in any of that. I've not watched any tennis. None. Zero. The World Tour final was getting ready to play, and for some reason I thought it was already over.
Did they have Paris? Did they play Paris, or that was canceled?
I have no idea.
They did play Paris.
Who won that?
Who won Paris? I can't remember now. Though.
It never happened. Didn't happen there.
So y'all have been watching a lot too.
It happened, but I didn't remember who won Paris. Was it Medvedev? Yeah, it was Medvedev. Medvedev won Paris. Yes, Medvedev ended up having a very nice season in the end.
Yes. Thank you, Tony. Yes. I mean, we'd have expected that at the U.S. Open, but, you know, you weren't interested in any of that. You were trying to check some little girl on the interwebs.
Betty, leave Betty alone.
But I mean, honestly, when I looked at the draw every day, I looked at the draw and I saw, of these 8 players, I'm only interested in Diego Schwartzman. Do I really want to watch him get a beat down? Not so much so. I mean, like, I don't mind the Russian boys to extent, but, you know, they give me racist vibes. They do. And they're just problematic anyway, just their attitude and code. I mean, like, I love Medvedev play a good heel. You know what I mean? Like, he's that wrestler guy who everybody loves to hate. But again, I'm not that invested. And I certainly won't be invested for, like, you know, Vidal and Novak, you know, like pot 58, 60, whatever the shit they're going to try to sell that mess to me for. But I mean, I think the only good takeaway I had from this whole tournament was that Vidal yet again was twatted. Get it. I hear it.
He still didn't get it.
And I know. And you know, the thing is that I know he wants it. He wants it like how everybody wants a French Open. And the tennis gods is just like, no, we don't care. You can't have this.
Basically, until you give up the French Open, we won't give you this.
Exactly. I mean, they could put Jack Sock in that final, and that fool would lose that. He would lose it. He would triple himself.
Lovely Drama Girl says, even with an abbreviated, socially distanced season, Novak still managed to bank someone in the throat with a ball.
I mean,
can I tell you though? Let's just talk about. Can we talk about the fact that they stopped Novak Djokovic from winning any slams for the rest?
Nole got nothing but the Australian Open. As soon as COVID happened, Novak whole season just was
an anti-vaxxer. I bet he doesn't get that vaccine.
I mean, and you would have thought that COVID he was the one supposed to grab hold. You know what I'm saying?
No, but the world said absolutely not. We are going to get in your way at every turn because although to be honest, I showed up at that French Open final ready for Novak to snatch, and I didn't know who that Novak was.
I mean, Cincy and Rome.
That was post-COVID.
I mean,
COVID.
Could you imagine that? He got treated like Dinar Safina. Nole. He just had a Dinar Safina COVID tennis. Like, he needs to pretend like this just didn't even happen. Just my season ended at their
Let me tell you something. That final was embarrassing on multiple.
I mean, I quite enjoyed it.
And I know his fans out here saying he won more matches than Federer. That ain't shit. That ain't nothing.
It's not saying a whole lot, buddy.
I mean,
no, but you know what? What I loved about it was I thought to myself, "Ooh, this is what it's gonna look like when Novak Djokovic loses all his juices." You know what I mean? Because they all get to a place where they start coming down and they look totally normal again because they go on this weird vibe where they're unbelievable, and then they come back down to earth. That French Open is a preview of what's to come.
I mean, like I try to wipe that out of my memory. I mean, like. Listen to me.
And I'm a Novak Djokovic fan in that pairing, but that was fun.
But I'm just saying, you know what? I'm just saying, like maybe as a Fed fan, maybe it doesn't sting. But I'm just gonna say, like Fed could be like, whatever. Nadal is getting on my backhand, whatever the case may be. But let me tell you something. Had I been Nole, I would have thrown hands. I would have reached and thrown a I mean, like,
you couldn't do that 2 tournaments in a row. Stop it.
I mean, I would have pulled a Serena. I would have made the scene. I would have made a scene on that court. Something. I'm just gonna get you. I mean, listen to me.
Can I tell you how much we
had 3 men.
We were so used to him doing well that I kept waiting for him to get better. I was like, "Oh, here it comes, here it comes!" And a couple of the Rafa fans that I was following, they kept waiting for him to wake up, and it was.
I mean, it's like when the finish line is there, he's just like, I'm not interested in anymore. Nope.
Pablo, that's wrong. Pablo said no. Nole played like Serena.
Oh, get out, Pablo.
You know what? Listen to me. I have a theory, and generally my theories are right about Serena. I'm just gonna put it out there. Serena's not gonna win a slam until she dressed right. I have been watching Serena post maternity, and it's not the body issue. It's not the body. I'm not body shaming her, but these outfits are trash. I mean, they don't look the ballerina outfit. They're just absolutely horrible, trashy looking outfits.
Listen, you can't say that.
Listen to me.
You can't say that when these ladies are showing up and beating Serena.
I think the only thing that probably looked good was the bodysuit when she played the French Open, and that's on that. And she pulled out. She couldn't even finish that tournament. But I'm just simply saying. The fans could come after me and say whatever they want to say. But listen to me. All those things were just ugly, rubbish. They look like she was, you know what she did? She supersized Olympia's clothing. They were not meant for her. I saw one, I remember the US Open, was it the US Open, the French Open, when she had this Australian, she had this polka dot kind of print design. Girl, these are Venus. You can't wear print. So until you get the outfits right, because ain't nobody gonna give you a cup in that hot mess. It's not gonna happen. You deserve a plate. So get your outfits together, and we're gonna be seeing you winning 24, 25, and then let these girls scramble for the rest.
Pablo says she's wearing quick
dresses. I mean, Pablo. Yeah. See, I'm telling you. I mean,
I want to know if anybody in the feed got their own Quay doll. You fucking freak.
Deb, listen to me. Deb, I know Deb, I think we might be suffering from recentism. But if you go back to Serena, I mean, Serena was wearing some banging outfit. You know what I mean? Color, fit. I mean, just like she come with an off the shoulder, like, oh my God, can tutu. Nope, not for the court. This is not. Don't bring this shit outside. So get your shit together, and you're gonna win tournaments. Because you don't feel right, you don't play right, you don't look right. So that's what it is.
I think she probably thinks that she looks really good. Listen, Serena is one of the only people who has a Nike kit that doesn't look like every other fucking Nike kit. Therefore, she's got some input on that design. As sad as it is, she probably chose it after
Venus can contribute.
Listen to me. I'm not even listening. not that Nike is producing anything better for the people below. I'm just simply saying. I'm just
No, you have Serena, and then you have two kits for every other Nike woman.
Serena, it is true that Serena don't look like everybody else, but she can't be out here looking worse than everybody else. Because as basic as this outfit is for the other players, you know what I mean? She's just looking horrible.
Was it the Adidas kit that everyone wore that it didn't fit, and the women were like hair ties on the back?
In some ill-fitting uniform. It's
tennis couture, Reels. You don't understand fashion. It's tennis couture.
Lord.
Listen to me. I be watching sports people doing all kind of manner of madness.
How did we get here?
But no.
That's because Reels has been holding this in.
Clearly, he's been holding it in for quite some time, and he just had to let it out. It's okay. It's all right. I'm glad you had your moment.
It's over. It's over.
Moving on. We're moving on. Okay.
And I know y'all know I'm telling the truth, and you could run and tell the whole army that because I'm waiting for them to get in my mention. I said what I said.
Wow.
And ain't nothing.
All right.
Okay. Nike doesn't need new designer. They need to fight. They need to stop designing clothes. Give that to some other company, some other Adidas. Let Adidas handle that. Nike just make shoes. Let it go, Nike.
Well, they should let the slave labor make shoes, but
but you know what? But you know that's interesting. But that's a whole other topic of conversation. That COVID hasn't stopped capitalism. It hasn't.
Listen, capitalism it remains undefeated. Undefeated.
And this is why I'm afraid of the vaccine. Capitalism, you know.
No, see, I tell you, you're not calculating it right. Capitalism requires workers. So the vaccine has to work because you still got to get back to work.
These people out here talking about, like requires work. I don't think they care about people.
I'm just saying it requires labor, and you're the laborer. So they need you to be out there laboring.
They need bias too. So
so let's get into the good stuff, all the off court stuff that's happened since the last time we gathered, and it's a lot.
Is it?
Start us off.
Well. Tomic.
You've been watching some porn. You've been watching.
Let me just say, tennis is about to have a murder in 2021. Maybe in 2020. They need a good.
Bernard Tomic is off the hook. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know who that woman is, but he was biting somebody's ass. And if you were willing to pay money, you could watch it too. I want to know which one of you paid for it.
Who paid money to come on and tell us about how Bernard performed?
Cool.
I don't think it would have been. You know what? If anybody in our chat feed did it, it was Pablo.
Pablo, how was OnlyFans?
How was it, Pablo?
I don't even listen. This is how pure I am. I've never heard. I mean, I've heard of OnlyFans, but I've never even done anything.
You want to know who told me about OnlyFans? I think you'll be very surprised. The person that told me about OnlyFans was none other than our purist Tony.
Well, that's because Tony has a very, very robust online life. But what is so Yvette is asking when did this happen? So apparently Tomic's girlfriend posted
some woman, I don't know whether she's his girlfriend or not, might just be an actress. Okay.
Yes. Posted that if you are so inclined, you could drop, what was it, $60? Something like that?
No, it was something. I don't think it's $60. Maybe that's Russian ruble she meant. They ain't about to pay 60 American dollars.
To see her and Tomic get at it.
I mean,
on an OnlyFans account. I want to know. I have questions. I just listen. I want to know how. Zenobia, Pablo 3, Zenobia 15, Zenobia. Tony seems to know a lot. Okay. Anyways, how does this work? Like this whole OnlyFans thing? Like I seriously don't get it.
Service.
I mean, it is, but is it like you pay like X amount of dollars and you have unlimited subscription or what? I want to know. Because I might take one for the team if it's, not per minute.
Well, first of all,
No, I
wanna
think
say-
it's for like the it's a subscription. I don't know actually.
Is it like just an account subscription?
I mean,
I don't know, but I know that when I saw this picture pop up in my timeline of this woman and somebody like biting on their ass, I thought that guy looks really familiar, but I don't know why. And then lo and
OnlyFans is
behold,
not.
it's
I
bad
mean,
boy Bernie.
okay, OnlyFans isn't just about porn though. You can do
no,
other
it's
things on it.
anything.
You
It's
can
like an
do
influencer site.
Right.
But it is an adult subscription site though. You have to be an adult to go on it. Theoretically.
Okay.
So monthly subscription can range from $4.99 to $49.99. And you can, the people who are putting out the content, supposedly you can earn between $1,500 and $7,400, $7,500, based on estimate between 1% or 5% of your followers subscribing.
What the hell?
Earning, I mean, but you know how these metrics work, right? These fake metrics, because at some point these OnlyFans change the whole pricing situation, and the users have no control over the content once they've been posted.
Ooh.
And also they have no control over how the money is being paid, because what was so attractive about OnlyFans in the beginning is that they used to pay you weekly, and then they changed this to monthly, I think, or some mess like that. This is why when you put, you're putting free content onto a page, and like you can't, as not trying to make magical reference here, but when you can't see the brain of an operation, you should be worried about it. And I think this is what happens with OnlyFans.
No one even gets that magical reference. Don't even worry about it.
But when you can't see and you don't have control over much of the operation, but I think people have been doing it and putting out, and you're not forced to do it, to do actual, full on, like graphic porn. But people have been complaining about, because sometimes the owner of the I don't know what to describe these people, like the handle, right? The handle, there's been issues in the news. The influencer handler, whatever the case may be, has made promise to say, I will do this, whatever the case may be, and then show some kind of bullshit stunt, whatever the case may be, and then people get upset and they want a refund, because there's supposed to be a refund issue and whatever the case may be. So it's all kind of messy. It's been in the news lately because most of these things, they run the gamut of being very exciting in the beginning and then fall out later on, and particularly when money is involved. Same thing like YouTube influencers.
I think it was just the tease, though. I think it was just the tease. I don't think anything really happened. I think he was like gesturing like he was taking off her bikini, and then
right. And I think it was people do that sort of thing to get people in. I mean,
just to get people to subscribe. Right, but you never know. It's Tomic.
But granted,
apparently this woman, she does it with all of her exes, which I guess is one way for you to make a business, is just bring up your boyfriend on your channel.
But I mean, I don't know if anything came of it, because clearly the Australian media didn't run with it. And I mean, they love a good scandal.
This is what's so great about Tomic. Your expectations of him is so low, and he's done such a good job of like getting people to expect nothing, that this was just a blip. It was just like a
right. And I mean, let's be honest, Tomic doing porn, is that surprising? I mean,
not even a little bit.
What I'm surprised is that he really thinks his body is that somebody's gonna want to see that naked.
Oh,
you know
God.
what I mean?
Have you seen porn? The guys never look good. It's the women. So I think it's fine.
I guess. It certainly didn't have me thinking, ooh. I mean, if Sangha has an OnlyFans, he might get a couple dollars.
Reels, you're talking gay porn. Gay porn is different. The body is probably very important in gay porn.
Oh my God.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. In gay porn, people usually have a decent body. You know what I mean? Like, you put out some content, show you working at your routine, and oh God, like influencers. I call them influencers. I mean, like, y'all just make me sick. They just
as a matter of fact, I think the only thing I realize now is, having thought about OnlyFans, I'm a little bit upset that it was only Tomic that took advantage of the off season to do this.
Hey.
As Pablo just mentioned in the chat, maybe we would have paid to see Sangha. Somebody awesome.
Right. But I mean, people have Instagram. And I mean, listen, porn is the last frontier right out here, because I mean, like, you do porn, you fuck up, and nobody's interested in you thereafter, right?
Really?
I mean, I don't think I don't
Not
think everyone.
anymore. I feel like we've integrated porn into
the
our regular
Kardashians, I
life.
think, is an anomaly. I don't think people are. And I mean, it was Ray J. You know what I mean?
Listen,
it was Ray J.
I'm okay with us having a controversial set of tennis players showing up on OnlyFans and other spaces. Do what you need to do, loves.
I mean, if she did that with Michael Jordan, maybe it might have had some kind of like effect, but it's Ray J. So everybody's gonna say, like, girl, you had a bad moment. This is just a bad. I mean, like, you know what I mean? You just say, girl,
hey,
like,
profit off your bad moment. I'm fine with
girl,
that.
we all had one of those moments where we had somebody sex with somebody who just like, and I mean, according to the reviews, she wasn't even any good at it too. So, but you know what? She turned a lemon into lots of lemonade. So, I pray that this never happens to anyone again, because she has been a cancer, and that whole family is a cancer on us all. You know what I mean? And part of our many issues. But moving on. But I mean, I haven't seen anyone on my timeline, I should say, who bit the bullet and decided to see that. I think
if you did, though, please let us know.
We want to know. We want to talk to you.
And I think the kind of soft porn players are willing to participate. They could do that on the Instagram. I mean, Diego does it all the time.
Lopez when you need him.
Isn't that what George does for you all on his Insta feed?
Yeah. No denying it.
Yeah, I mean, like, and he got Chad when they were in the take.
Yeah, where's Chad?
You know what I mean? But I mean, like, there's COVID. But I mean, yeah, people got the Instagram.
I would tune in for Gofan on an OnlyFans stream. I'm okay with that.
And that way they can get legit sponsors too, because I mean, these people trying to make some money.
We're talking about how tennis players can make some money through OnlyFans. I still think there's a chance.
But who would you suspect would do it though, and who would you like to see do it?
I mean, Zonda was a nice ad there. I would totally listen. I might drop some cash and see what that's
about. Delpo would do it. I think Delpo would do it.
Oh, no one wants to see that hairy motherfucker.
I don't want to see him, but I think he would do it.
You do? Why do you think Delpo?
Because Delpo was having sex in the shower with the girl he was cheating on, right? So I feel like he's a little bit of an exhibitionist. Feliciano Lopez, I definitely think would do it.
Verdasco would do it.
No, maybe not anymore. He seems so conservative now with his family. Maybe not.
I know
would do it. But you know what? He probably wouldn't even have a partner. It would just be him, like, doing things because he's so fucking.
Which American player you think would do it?
Oh Jesus! Which one would you pay for? Maybe that's a better question.
I would pay for Michael Moore, and he might be strapped for cash. I'm not no shade. I mean, like,
would you watch TFO?
Yeah,
that's a lot of ass.
I would,
and abs.
But TFO girlfriend would kill him. If he was single, I'd be like, maybe he might do a little something. But I don't think these players would go full on out there. They would try to make it seem artistic and all this kind of shit. You know what I mean?
Lopez would try to make it artistic.
Lopez would definitely
get
do
up
it.
there and work out. They just have to get out there and do their workout routine.
I mean, Lopez was the first one to do like the gray sweatpants. He was way ahead of the game on that. Years.
And I mean, like, a lot of players have been willing to be naked for ESPN body issues. So I mean, like, why not?
There you go. But I think the person who's transitioned the most this time, as Lovey said, is Gail. Gail Monfils has been like all up in Twitch. So I think Gail's too private for that.
Listen to me. The COVID has an effective Gail work ethic. Okay, no tea, no shade. This is who Gail is. Okay, playing video games. No, you don't gotta be shamed for it.
But you know what? I actually think Gail is emerging as somebody who could have a really wonderful career post tennis.
Yes, definitely. I would love to see him.
Is he still with that girl?
Yes, he's still with them.
That girl is a highly ranked WTA player, and her name is Fidelina.
So you're right. I totally couldn't remember it. That's why I said that girl. But I just, for all fun and games, I'm looking at our stream chat. I think Pablo would have an OnlyFans page. I think he would probably be really good at it too. He could be like, "This is how you pronounce." And just make it so sexy.
I want a WTA ATP pronunciation.
Tennis Sangren would probably do it. I mean, like a lot of
gross.
I think a lot of the American players will be strapped for some cash. I mean, like they gotta. Do something.
Sam Querrey did go on Millionaire Matchmaker.
Oh yeah. And that was about as charming as he's ever been for anybody.
Right.
Nobody know where he is, by the way. I mean, honestly, I saw someone ask us on
Twitter. You know what? They never
really
follow that story. I'm sure he's been snuck back over the border.
I mean, I don't care any much about him for that reason. And you see, this is precisely why Australia ain't gonna let you motherfuckers in there without a vaccine, because of idiots like him. Because people supported him. No one said none of the players came out and said what he did was irresponsible and it fucked up.
No, I mean, I think they could imagine themselves equally trapped. So they were all on his side to figure out how to escape a country.
Then yeah, I shouldn't have been there.
Tony says that Sam is still MIA. Didn't he like take a plane out of Russia or something? He may not be with us anymore.
Because he's supposed to face consequences, like serious consequences from ATP. Because they had all signed
up. It's a good year to face consequences. Nothing's gonna happen. You know what I mean? Like it's like he's gonna be like, "Well, thanks for telling me I can't go to Australia. Thanks."
I don't think they know where he is to announce sanctions. No
sanctions yet. No announcement.
He probably doesn't even read his emails. I'm sure. He looks like a non-email reader to me.
Oh my god.
Yeah, Yvette. No sanctions. No announcement of sanctions. No sanctions for anyone.
Michael Smith would bank. Who the hell's Michael Smith?
I don't know who that is.
Who is that?
Lovely drama girl. You know, look, see, even a scrub that I don't know, girl, nobody watching that. I don't know this show.
So we have some other off-court news.
Yes, that is true. Sorry, Afua mentioned that it seems as though Sam Querrey was with the Brown brothers. Not that we're surprised.
Well, you know what? Yes,
all three of them is MIA.
Yeah, he did show up. He did show up with the Bryan brothers for like a party or something, some kind of celebration. I think it was because it was one of their birthdays.
Was this post-escape?
Well, it can't be one of their birthday, Andre. It's gotta be both their birthday. Oh, I mean, like it might either be Sam's birthday or the twins' birthday.
Yeah, it was one of somebody's birthday. It was somebody's birthday, and I was like, oh, so he has made an appearance. That was his subtle way of letting us know he was.
Yes, Bree. I would definitely pay for Michael Moe, and I've already said it, Bree. And you better keep your crusty hands.
Michael Moe needs me to do his hair, though. It's so dry.
So who will be looking at that hair?
Listen, I'm gonna give him.
Who will be looking at that head? If Michael Moe get an OnlyFans page, who's looking at his head?
You know, Janina looks at the weirdest thing. She's
like, how are his teeth? Are his teeth okay? Because
look, when we range from Andy Murray, what Andy Murray used to look like, Nishikori and Guile, trust me, Michael is all right. It's good. Very good.
She meant Mo. Okay, because I was like, wait, I know I don't watch a lot of challenger tennis, but I've never heard of Michael Smith. Thank you for clarifying.
Okay.
Michael Mo. Okay. Well, yes, of course. Michael Mo.
But you're right, lovely drama girl. All of these American players become like Schmidt. Like it's just like I don't even know who these people are. Like,
no.
I was thinking we were really out of touch. I mean, I know I'm out of touch.
The black players we can even identify.
Listen, Reels, you Bree asking people to take for Reels to leave their man alone is like Reels is on everyone's man.
First of all, I know Bree ain't trying to check me for some man, but I'm just gonna pretend. He playing it up for the fans. He playing it up, Bree. Give you, gas.
Listen, Bree has her faves. Bree has her faves. Actually, you know what? We were so sexist. We picked no women.
For what? OnlyFans? I'm here for Sveta. I'd pay for that all day. You already know.
You don't want an OnlyFans. You want a hotel room for Sveta, Janina. Maybe
both. I want to be a part of the OnlyFans with a piece of the cash in the room with Sveta. That's what
I'm sorry, ladies, but I can't think of a lady I'd be like.
I mean,
of course you can't.
I would think so. I think Sloan would be fun on OnlyFans.
Oh no, we've already seen her soft porn. It's bad.
We just try. It'll be fun though. You have fun with it. Why are you talking about that?
You know what I want to see the lady at the WTA do? I want to see them do like a sex talk show. That's what I want.
Why? It'd be full of vanilla ice cream.
But I mean, like, it would just be hilarious just to see them have like a round table discussion about sex and the boys around and whatever. That's what I would pay for their OnlyFans for like,
Tony,
like the articles. I pay for the articles.
I I don't know. Oh, this is actually really fun.
Tony said Sloan would overact.
I mean,
she
maybe.
would, like she does in them damn pictures, and she would totally have on a bad wig.
She'd overact and then block you. But
Yeah.
let me see. What
Tony, look, listen to me, Tony. I don't know what you've been drinking over Holly, but you're getting shadier than ever. Okay, that is so true.
So what other women like? Let's think about this. That's a good question. I know Tony wants a Serena OnlyFans. Does he though? I don't know.
I mean, she has the body for it. I mean, like, you know what I mean? Like, she has that look.
and the personality. I think
And the
Serena
personality. She can really sell.
She'd have a lot of fun.
What about Venus? I think Venus would be more fun than Serena.
No, Venus would be selling me shit. I'm like,
Venus and Grigor.
She'd be selling me some goop. I don't mind interested in goop, Serena. Venus.
She'd be like, look at how this does on his face, rubbing him in skincare.
Listen to me. I am surprised that we didn't even
I
see.
would pay for a Venus and Grigor. Actually, I do like that.
I think I might as
I am
well.
surprised we didn't put out Kvitova. We know Kvitova got an OnlyFans out there.
Oh, she probably does. She probably has 4 of them.
Leave my Venus alone.
All with married men, Kvitova does. Listen, Grigor would be fun. That would be
Grigor
so
would be
fun.
fun.
And
Grigor would be
Grigor would be
all
doing
the things.
dances. He'd be
He would
trying to
dance.
outfit.
and you know who else would have one? Yastrimska, whatever her name is.
Oh, yeah,
that.
Yeah, I'm sure she got one with her face in it.
She could try out black makeup.
What does a Sharapova OnlyFans page look like?
Trying to sell you something, and she has all her clothes
Is
on.
she also trying to sell you something?
Look at Deb. Deb is right. Deb said she'd pay for Grigor. I kind of would too.
I think we all would. Ooh, Garby. But who would Muguruza
Debbie,
be?
nobody give me that money. You're wasting that money.
Oh,
Grigor.
listen, I can't believe we missed the most obvious choice for OnlyFans as a man.
Federer?
Who?
Stan Wawrinka.
Oh my God. You know, that might be creepy. There might be a child involved. Well, I shouldn't say child, a teenager. How's that?
Teenager.
Still a child, somebody's baby.
No. Airbnb would be
Mark
fun
with
though.
Kerber. No, Kerber
Bean
would be
would
such a
probably be-
prude.
No, Kerber looked like
No
she'd be from
Kerber.
Berlin.
No
No,
Kerber.
that's some fun. I mean, I think it's the usual suspects, the really fun live.
Yeah, and
folks.
And I'm not imagining like it being like overly,
No,
like,
it doesn't have to be sexual, but it could be fun.
right?
Pablo,
fun,
how do you
but-
know this? What is he not telling us? Because I've never thought that of Stan. Pablo, this is a G-rated show. Cut it out.
What did he say about that?
This is why I said that Pablo would have an OnlyFans page.
I know Breer's already gone down there. Bree's gone already. She's already seen Kerber and Muggs in together. That's actually not a bad. That's not a bad team.
Kerber and Muggs? Are you serious? That's disgusting.
That's great. That's
Kerber doesn't
great.
even have any boobs.
You obviously have never read fan fiction, Janina. Go fix that.
No, I don't like fan fiction. I think it's weird.
Oh my God.
Deb
That's
says
the
Stan
woman,
would pay us
that's the
to
woman
watch.
on the Harry Potter podcast.
I hate Harry Potter fan fiction, though. I only like the books.
Janina Draga, how dare Deb get your friend? Deb, come get your friend, okay?
Cut it out.
Oh,
Pablo being that, it's not gonna be that
Who's
kind of
the Czech
violent.
guy
you
that
know, like,
retired that did the ESPN body magazine? Who's stupid? What's his name? I can't even think of it right now.
Burditch.
Tomas Burditch. Yeah.
That's
Oh,
different.
Burditch.
Like I
Oh,
said, players
Burditch.
have been.
Yeah.
I think athletes would be. I am surprised athletes are not out here doing it since they're so very comfortable with their
Bree
body.
knows me so well. But Burditch, yeah, he would be fun. I think that I think Burditch would.
You know,
Listen, I don't think he's the smartest, thing.
But we don't need them.
Not the sharpest crayon in the box.
But you know what? This is a very viable business for that group. They have very nice bodies.
I mean, they need post-tennis
Yeah.
careers.
I'm surprised athletes. but I
Carmelo
think they need
Anthony and Venus?
Listen, don't
What's
sleep
that
on
all
Venus.
about?
Don't sleep on Venus.
Mhm,
I mean,
I'm
what's
telling you.
Venus going to sell Carmelo Anthony, though?
No.
skincare routine.
What's
Verdasco
the name?
is the opposite
I mean,
of
she's
Stan.
gonna sell some.
Oh my
watch.
God,
That's what
Roddick
she's gonna sell.
Stepanek said Tony, he would wear a turtleneck.
And we need that turtleneck
Roddick
pulled
Stepanek
all
is
the way up to his
turtleneck.
face. We need that full up to his hairline. That's what we need that turtleneck to do.
Petra and Stepanek.
Oh my God, we went down a dark hole. Okay, we have to come back out.
I don't
Yes,
know. This
so-
hole's fun. But
Only asshole. OnlyFans. Oh, I can't do it.
Well, still here for Sveta.
So basically, what I want them to do is I want them to create a tennis player channel, if there is such a thing or capacity on OnlyFans, and I'd like all the
create that
to move over there. So tell them.
They can't even get us to watch tennis. They can't. We don't even know where to go and enjoy tennis, which I thought would have been so easy considering what's going on now. You know what I mean? Like we have a central place that would get some. Nope. These people are not interested.
Bree says, "Let's bring this back to sexy people." Who are your sexy people, Bree? I mean, she wants a Frenchie. Who? I mean, like Gilles Simon has chicken legs. Only one word. Tsonga
nobody is picking Gilles Simon for anything.
No, I can see all the tennis players. I can see all the French players.
I mean, yeah.
Pablo, forget that. Like he knows something. This is weird.
I need to see pay you OnlyFans account.
The only thing really pretty about him is his cheekbones
and his hair.
Benoit.
Oh, Benoit. Oh,
yes.
Basically, I'd pay for Benoit. I'd just pay.
I mean, first of all, we know that the French players definitely have sex videos, dick pics, and all that kind of thing on their phone. We know that for sure, without any doubt. They have that content on their phone.
Who's the one guy? Yeah. Who is he? Oh my God, he has bad teeth. Who is it? Oh, he's French, and he's for sure not gay. No, white guy. Blonde hair. Oh gosh. He almost beat Novak at the US Open several years ago. It was such a great match. And then he lost. He hangs. Oh my God, I can't think of who it is. Come on, name some French people.
Is it a young player or old or veteran player?
Well, now he's probably middle. Puy. Yep.
Oh yeah. Luca
Puy. Luca Puy.
I'm okay with that. I just want a group channel, maybe. I could just subscribe to Benoit just eating. So
I mean, y'all know
Benoit could just like get his hair done, get his beard combed, get his hair colored, cook food. He doesn't even have to do anything.
Get wet.
He has to stay out of the COVID bubble.
Brand.
He had COVID.
Anywho, that's
Bartoli. Oh
God.
You know what? I'm okay with that.
Isn't she having a baby?
What? Bartoli's having a baby?
Do you know what? Can I tell you? Do you know what was a missed moment? A missed moment was that damn talk show that Bethany Maddox-Stans was doing. We should have been kept up on these news. I didn't know did she have her baby? What happened? Like, did that talk show still? Is it
Stephanie Maddox-Stans had a baby?
No, but I was saying that it would have been nice if they had kept that talk show and give us tennis tea.
Oh, I don't know.
No, Bethany Maddox-Stans, she was doing a talk show. Remember? It was
who has a gay husband? Pablo, what are you saying?
Gofan and Gofan wife.
I still think Gofan is gay. I don't care what anybody says.
And
listen, you just need to get used to European players.
Oh,
are they gay European? There's a song like that,
listen,
right?
I'm not gonna out the person that said this to me because I don't want anyone to make any prejudgments. But someone who not so much anymore, but used to be quite popular on Twitter and in the tennis scene a lot, said to me one time, "He's very European," and I'm like, "Well, what the fuck does that mean?" Like I had never even heard the term. He's like, "Well, European men are just different, They're more open and liberal sexually, but don't necessarily consider themselves gay or bi. They just, live and have sex." And I was like, I remember like, oh, wow, really? No. Is that Gofan?
No. We've all established that whatever we know, I think it's different. We've all know that whatever people believe about themselves isn't necessarily true in reality, right? You can believe all manner of things about yourself. And European men, supposedly, it isn't that they're very free sexually. It's just that they're just free in the aesthetics. That's why they typically, when people say, "Oh, it's not gay, he's just European," and the idea is that this meant to be straight.
Well, I think that to mean that they're open to sex with.
No, it just means that they can wear skinny jeans and be.
Jeans,
see, exactly. I misunderstood. I did not.
And carry a pocketbook, and
I thought that meant that they were open to sexual acts with either sex. Mm-hmm. Okay, learn something new every day.
But generally,
all right. So for moving on, some more off-court drama. Moving away from our fantasy only you pages. Alexander Zverev has got all kinds of stuff surrounding him right now. He's got baby mama drama, ex-girlfriend drama. Did he beat her ass drama? What do we think of all this?
And for once, it's nothing to do with his tennis, and he's allegedly playing good tennis.
And the tennis is supposedly good. I don't know. I haven't watched any of it, but
Well,
somebody say something.
I mean,
well, he got some good news and he got some bad news, or he got some bad news and even worse news, depending on how you're going to look at it.
Okay, let's first talk about the baby mama drama. So
Right.
apparently this woman says, hey, I had a baby with Zverev. And everybody's kind of like, wait, what?
not had.
I mean,
she's still
She's
pregnant.
having a baby.
Or she's
She's having.
having.
She's
So my
having.
question is, do we know if this is even true? Has he owned
He's
this?
admitted it.
He has
He's
admitted it.
admitted it.
Yeah.
So how old is Mr. Zverev?
22 at the
Two?
most. Yeah, because he just was at the World Tour Final, the Children Cup. That's what it's called. It's called Next Gen Cup. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah,
So
he's
what
23.
did we learn first? That he's maybe a physical abuser, or
No, we learned about
a
the baby first.
No,
Yeah,
the
we
baby.
learned about the
first.
baby.
Tony and Pablo say he's 23. Okay, maybe
Yeah,
he had a
he's
birthday.
23.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he has this child coming.
Yep.
I don't expect the child, honestly, to have much of an effect on his career. It sounds like they're not together, and he'll probably pay some money, but I don't know.
Child
I don't.
support. That's it.
Yeah, I don't
the
see
girl
this-
said the girl said she didn't want him in her life.
Yeah, I
This
don't
is-
see this
Which
being
is a huge
something
statement.
that,
Yeah.
this isn't something that's going to be, a big deal. It's the Tom Brady situation. I don't get that reference. Ooh, explain.
Yeah, Tom Brady was with somebody else. And
Yeah,
Got
Bridget
his
Moynihan,
girl,
I think her name is.
What?
Yeah,
when he
and-
was with Giselle?
Yeah, well, he left her. He left his pregnant girlfriend and got together with somebody else.
Hmm.
So I don't
Okay.
think this is like, it is what it is.
It just seems like a piece of something, right? Like, oh, I'm going to say this because my baby daddy is semi-famous. I don't know. Do we call him famous?
No.
Because
no.
I don't know that he is.
It is his child. There is
Yeah,
no
I
denying
get
it.
that, but it doesn't seem to be like really big news.
It's not big news
Because-
only in the sense that she's on Instagram and they're not together. And I think he didn't acknowledge it publicly for a while. And then she said, yes, I'm pregnant. And that's the thing. There's not a big controversy around it at all.
And then that wasn't even the bigger news because then the domestic abuse allegations came out right after
Came up
that.
right
There
afterwards.
was a domestic
So-
abuse. And then, so that all came out. And then we had Ben's article.
Well, I think the domestic abuse if you were sort of tracking it was
Context.
kind of
Andrew is giving us
coming.
context.
No, I'm just saying if you were tracking the domestic abuse piece, it was just kind of floating on Instagram. I think the girlfriend Olya was making statements on Instagram, but I think the final kind of confirmation of it is when Ben did his piece for Racket Magazine, where he went and interviewed Olya and the family that she's staying with in New Jersey.
How
It's
weird
really
was
cool.
that?
I mean, I
The
thought
article.
the article it's interesting. It's an interesting piece to me because as long as, and this is sort of weird because I don't know what to do with it, as long as she is not going to pursue any kind of both financial or larger damages in any other capacity, it's always going to play out as if it's, and it always probably will, as a he said, she said situation, right? It's always going to play out like, okay, I'm going to sit down and tell my story. And that's basically what that article was. But what I found weird about that piece, as detailed as it was, and all of those pieces, is that it wasn't an investigative piece.
Right.
He didn't approach it as, if you're going
It's
to
a
tell this
gossip
story,
piece.
it read like a gossip piece as opposed to somebody who had done investigative journalism and had interviewed other sources. All of his sources are her family.
Are
and
her
her friends.
family, her friends, her sources, her inner circle.
Yeah.
However, didn't he say that he tried to reach out to Zverev's
I mean,
people?
That makes a ton of
unsuccessfully.
sense. But the reality is, and this is the sad case of it, unfortunately for somebody like Ben, is that if I am in a situation as serious as this, I'm not being interviewed by Ben. I'm not going to go for my story, right? So yeah, I mean, I don't think it's not true. I don't think it.
I have a question though.
There's something there.
Let's pause for a moment. You're saying, if this is my story, Ben isn't the one that's going to get the interview. Who gets the interview? Who do we take?
Christopher Clary. I give it to Christopher Clary. I give it to somebody who has more weight than someone who has been perceived as taking the easy way out with storytelling and investigative journalism. I would go with someone with a little bit more weight if I want this story to be taken truly seriously.
Resources to back it up.
And I would go to the hotel, and I would get footage.
Yeah, exactly.
I would get footage from the hotel. I would try to get multiple confirmations. I would not present it as simply one detailed story. Not to say that she is not telling the truth. She very well could be telling the truth, but I wouldn't cover it in the way that he has covered it.
Right.
I would surround the story more. I would get as many voices because he has access to the ATP, and some of the events happened around ATP events.
Right.
So I would also seek to get some of that information as well. That struck me as a kind of real blind spot to the way he presented that. And so I don't need her to go to the cops. I don't need any of that. But if you're covering it from a sports perspective, which is what he is doing, there's some liability on the ATP side because some of the stuff happened where she was at. And
because Ben is supposed to be one of their top journalists. Everybody knows who Ben is.
No, we're not going to say top in what sense? What is the definition of top? I mean, because he hasn't presented top work
his
ever.
His name.
I mean, he's popular in tennis Twitter.
No, I don't think that's true, Reels.
No.
I really don't think that's true. He is known among the players. The tennis circle knows his name. That's what I say. Honestly, I think when we talk about tennis journalists, tell me, who do you think of? Tell me who you think of.
First of all,
I don't want us to think about it in terms of how we think about it.
I mean,
in the grand scheme of things, if you were to talk to players or people who look for tennis news with people who are associated with big media outlets, who do you think of?
I think Ben is affiliated with the New York Times. So obviously he's somebody that you would associate with tennis journalism. I don't think though that people associate Ben with good tennis journalism.
No, I didn't say good. I'm just saying tennis in general. So that's my point.
But you see, you're giving tennis the sort of weight as you would probably give something like NBA basketball.
No, absolutely not. I think tennis journalism is shit.
Exactly.
Are you kidding me? It's shit all around. But that doesn't make him any less.
First of all, I'm not sure I would have even given.
Well, wait. Why are we even going down this road? I'm just saying that the reporting of the story is different. For me, that piece I didn't think was a successful piece,
right?
Because I thought it was salacious, and I think it trafficked in rumor. I think if you want to approach this more seriously, you don't make it a tit for tat. You make it a systems issue as well. You make it about the company. You make it about what the ATP needs to be doing. You make it about something more substantial than I went and chat with this woman in her in her kitchen.
He made it personal.
And the story wasn't grounded in anything. The story wasn't grounded in anything because going in, what was made abundantly clear from the beginning of the story, right? That one, she wasn't going to pursue this any further than this, right? That she wasn't going to go to the police. She wasn't going to seek, allegedly at this point, damages. She was just telling allegedly her side of the story.
Right.
Not that there was a counter side of the story. Not that there was a counter story to combat. She was telling a story. And that was what I thought was interesting because it's not like Zverev was out here saying, like she is this kind of person or something like that. Right. And also the story wasn't grounded in anything, like beyond, as Andreen pointed out, like it's just been trafficking in rumor. The story didn't ground itself in like a larger history of the systematic problem of women following guys around on tour. Because those are questions that have come up before. It hasn't fallen around abuse that happens on tour. And in fact, tennis literally have a case of domestic abuse right now going on in court. And none of that was even mentioned or even put in the story. Because what people took from this story was for the ATP to have an action, to take action. And they didn't push for that for Bashvili. I'm saying his name wrong.
Bashvili, yeah.
Nicholas Bashvili, the Georgian player. No one's saying anything of it, and he's literally in court for this specific matter.
So let's talk about what the real issue is here. Although a piece of the issue is the story, right? And bad journalistic ways, the big story is, how is the tennis governing bodies handling this in comparison to other governing sport bodies? Is there a difference between how tennis is an individual sport? Do we see a difference between individual sports and how they handle accusations and or proof of domestic abuse as opposed to a team sport where there are unions and things that are in place to hold players accountable? And we did a little bit of research and we found that there is a definite difference. And this is actually an opportunity for tennis to make some changes for the good, because when we started talking about this amongst ourselves and you know, how did we want to approach this conversation? Ultimately, the problem is that the response from the ATP and the ITF is non-existent. They're not really saying anything. Nobody's talking about this. You apparently have been going into into the interview room with players asking, are you pro Sascha or anti Sascha because of this? Like, that's what is happening. But we're not seeing a blanket statement from the tennis people.
Yeah, there was
saying
a statement not about it, but just kind of about conduct.
Right. Yeah. And you know, we know the rules on this podcast. We have studied them thoroughly, and they're very generic and they're very blanketed. They cover a wide range of things. You can make one tennis rule apply to 10 to 20 different situations. They're very easy to bend, they're very easy to manipulate. So it's really interesting to me how it's been handled as a sport, because the ATP isn't really saying anything. But when you have a situation like this in the NBA, in the NFL, they're definitely not model examples by any means, but we have more of a course of action. And I think this is a good opportunity for tennis to take itself there. But it seems like the trend is, when you have a sport who is comprised of a bunch of athletes, but they themselves are individuals, not part of a team. When you have an issue of domestic abuse, it really just kind of gets ignored and swept under the rug. So, you know, we talked about how sponsorships may be taken away and things like of that nature may be pulled out, but the governing body of the sport doesn't say anything. We're seeing that right now with Zverev, with Bashvili. We have seen this for many, many years, well over a decade, with Floyd Mayweather, who is the highest paid athlete in the entire world across all sports, who we know is a repeated offender of sexual and violent offenses, but we still pay all this money to watch him fight. Motherfucker can't even probably read, but we still support him because nobody talks about it, because there's nobody to punish him really. But when you have a situation, you know, Ezekiel Elliott of the Dallas Cowboys, who was allegedly involved in a domestic abuse scandal, was suspended for X amount of games without pay. And like, there are protocols in place that deter this. So the question is, does tennis need to do more? Do individual sports need to do more? I think the sports that have things in place need to do more. For example, the NBA doesn't have a specific clause that addresses domestic violence, but they do have a code of conduct that will provide reprimands should you be involved in some type of felonious case. So you will, lose time. But there's so much here. So let's unpack that.
Well, let me start off by first saying that domestic abuse isn't handled in society writ large properly, or adequately, or even seriously. So I don't find it surprising that in the professional setting that there will be some sort of explicit rules to handle this matter. So often in domestic abuse, even from the police showing up, from the justice system, it's also very skewed towards the man given the right, as opposed to women are further victimized, etc. We don't even talk about the fact that men can be victim of domestic abuse. So there's all kind of problems within the discussion and handling of domestic abuse on the whole, as opposed so that it being so problematic within sporting agency is even more so. And specifically with this case, if we were to be more specific, I think the ATP is going to be hard pressed in doing something because the victim doesn't want to do anything and there is no proof. The article doesn't provide any real proof of anything happening. Right? I mean, I don't know, they can conduct their own investigation, but in order to conduct their own investigation, there has to be something do they have rules in place to trigger said investigation? And we know tennis investigation is sloppy at best in many other instances outside of the situation. So I think what people have been pushing for, and I think what I've noticed across sports on a whole, is people are pushing for the mob reaction. I guess that's how people might track it as being, that there not be some rules in place. Floyd Mayweather keep getting the money in whatever case may be because the system at large don't give a shit about domestic abuse, right? They're all happy for a man knocking on because there is money to be made from Floyd Mayweather. No, tennis is a niche sport. Tennis doesn't get that much, recognition. You know what I mean? People are interested in Roger Federer, etc. But tennis isn't on the same scale as soccer, boxing, football, etc. So ATP isn't really in a position or even feel compelled to even do anything at this point because again, all they're going to say is
sad.
But from a legal point of view, though, again, from their point of view, if they had to take some action against Sascha, there has to be legal standing for them to do so because he can turn around and sue them. Because again, the situation as it stands at this point, it's Oleg story versus Sascha's story. It's he said versus she said. And again, this doesn't matter whether I think what she's saying is wrong or whether she's saying is true. For the most part, I do think what she's saying makes complete sense. But again, me saying something on the street and putting this about doesn't necessarily trigger an investigation of my boss unless it relates to something that happens at work specifically, right? And to some effect, that's going to affect the work product itself. Now, they had some situation on their whole domestic dispute. People, again, society usually treat domestic dispute as, they had a little spat. They usually treat it as they don't take it seriously. So that this
although you already have demonstrated that there's a part of this that I think that should have been explored, which is I think the part that is that I regret wasn't taken up by a reporter, which is that some of these events were happening around the actual ATP and ITF events.
Right.
And so there is reason for you to talk about people being safe at an event and the event in some sense being culpable or responsible, depending on how far you want to go. So if I were this sporting body, I would be investigating what Olya has said based on what has happened at that event, right? Because then there is room for them to say, this is something that occurred while you were not really under our protection, but it happened at the space, just like Jeannie was able to sue them because of what was going on.
But that happened at the grounds, though.
But this is what I'm saying. You don't know. The question is, according to her, the abuse was happening for quite some time. She recounted an incident where it happened at a hotel, but was it a player hotel? What was the relationship there? I think, and was it on the grounds? Because she also claimed it happened while there was another event happening. So I just think that there are opportunities here for the ATP to to take some license to figure out how they want to deal with this. But I think you're not going to get the ATP to do this if you don't turn your attention to that as a reporter.
Right.
Like, you need to take a systemic approach to this rather than I want people to put in their hashtag, I stand with Alex, I stand with Oya. Those are dumb. I mean, let's be honest. How are you standing with people? You don't know any of these people.
Right.
But the thing, like that to me feels like a completely emotional and completely extreme reaction.
Which is what happens often in domestic abuse situations.
You go down this weird road, but these people cover tennis as professionals. These are professional events. You have the ability and you have the license to call up and talk to people who have put on various events where some of these things happen. That's your responsibility as a reporter. That's the kind of reporting I want you to be doing. Just like how when things happen in tennis, they always ask the individual player, and then they know the fans are going to attack the player. And then the pushback is such that those players shut down and they no longer speak. Why do we make it individual? Why don't we talk about it from a systems perspective? If you want the ATP to issue a domestic violence policy, you need to push on them to do that. You have the capacity to do that. You can't get fans froth it up against individual players. I just think that in the kind of media environment we have, that is irresponsible journalism. And I've never appreciated that approach.
But
like,
particularly when they haven't given us all of the information, you haven't done a solid enough investigation or reporting for us to even be able to make such a call. And I think
the other thing is the other thing is you could think about it. Like, think about it from a player side. You could also say, you know what, we're part of the Players Council. We should have a code of conduct policy ourselves. Like, the tournament may not need to, but you yourself could decide what those parameters are. Because guess what? This also came up with Justin Gimbelstaub, right? It was a domestic violence case there as well. And that's the first trigger, is that person was on the leadership team. And that was a whole set of things where, should he have been able to come back? There was that was when that first question was raised. And guess what? He was allowed to come back, and people were really, really committed to that. So the legitimate question is, like, what should be the code of conduct for us as professionals? And you all can agree to it. The players could all vote on it. Like, that's a thing that could be pushed.
But again, I think the Justin Gimbelstaub story, again, there was legal. There was a legal
reason, but even as it became clear that he had been found like to have committed domestic violence, they didn't choose the actual sporting body didn't choose an approach. They were forced and compelled to, like, say, okay, you have to go, but they were reluctant to let him go. So I would think to myself, if there's some sort of courts, because that's the way we're saying now, right? The reason why the ATP doesn't have any license to say anything is because she has chosen not to pursue anything. But in the Justin Gimbelstaub case, they did pursue. There was some sort of judgment, and the ATP didn't respond to that either. So I don't actually think that that's giving an out for that conversation.
I'm not even looking for. First of all, I mean, let me be clear here. I'm not even thinking the ATP would even make a decision against Sascha, even if they did investigation. I'm just simply saying the steps that they think they would be needed to even take up the issue. And I think
they would have to be forced then to do.
They would have to be forced to do this, and I think at this point there's no impetus for them to.
They don't want to do it. They don't want to
do it. But I think you're pointing to something that is really important here, Andrew. That I think that would go back to the story and miss this, and I think the larger discussion of this situation misses this. Is that they're making this an individual player thing, but I had a lot of questions about that story. That why is how this little girl got on tour? Where was the protection for these young women that are coming in and out on tour? And I think probably because, and I know the ATP got a lot of stories because Dana Vekic and Stan.
Yeah, they should have done an investigation.
They should have done an investigation into that, because there was a young woman running around with a fully grown man who was married. And I think maybe this is where we might be having, we only know the story that happened at the hotel. Maybe the hotel almost becomes like a neutral zone, right? That way, manner of things are going on, and then the ATP is turning a blind eye away from that situation.
Well, yeah.
And the ATP doesn't want to open the can of worms and players like this ambiguity because it allows them to get away with murder, basically. And I think this is where ATP is, because if they want to avoid liability, they want to avoid having to handle players most beyond the realm of where they have to. They're just interested in dealing with players once they leave the player sanctioned hotel to get to the tournament. That's where they're most concerned of. And they're leaving the tournament directors perhaps or the hotel management to set whatever rules and regulation and to deal with situations quietly when they arise. Because I am sure there's a lot of problems that have been going on in the ATP and probably the WTA as well that people have just been ignoring and they're not knowing. And I think much of what has been discussed about this story with Sascha is missing that framing. Is that this situation is could be a systematic problem, a system-wide problem, and y'all are just focusing on the Sascha situation and not necessarily.
The system issue would be bigger, right? Because then you have to deal with people who show up. Remember, this was an issue with the gambling, when people are like, all kinds of folks are surrounding players, all kinds of people are on site, all kinds of folks are there, betting folks, people that shouldn't be on site, because it makes it seem as if the tournament is, in some sense, colluding with bad behavior, right?
It's being sponsored by betting company now. So.
Yeah, and you're compromising yourself in multiple ways, which is why it's okay for you to just like say this is about Sascha. But I think if you want to deal with this responsibly, I think you need to make it more than about Sascha. I think you need to make it more about this is a group of men who may or may not be behaving well, and what is the liability if they cross the line for us as a sport, for us as a group of people or as a community that we supposedly are, because that's the other thing that tennis does, right? Tennis does that family BS, which allows it to let all kinds of things go. But when it comes time for them to really deal, because remember, my very first kind of venture into the tennis backstory thing was with the sexual abuse allegation around the coaches, right? Let's not even talk about the fact that some of these men are coaching very, very young girls, very impressionable, have too much power and too much authority, and weird things are happening. And so I really believe that they have to have...
This is the real reason why the WTA has an 18-year-old limit.
Yeah, I mean, and so we have to talk about...
Because player burning out.
Yeah, but I think the thing is, I think we have to talk about a player conduct clause, and within that player conduct clause should be domestic violence, should be sexual assault.
It should encompass all of these things.
It has to encompass all of these things, and you have to go really deeply in it. If you think that it's fine, make this just a single Sascha issue. And then Sascha figures out a way to deal with this and it goes away, which it most likely will, in the sense that somebody will settle and it will quietly go away, but you will still have the same issue, which is you did not take a systems and a kind of approach to this as a company. Like, what's the best way for us to make sure that people are safe, are able to do their sport in a safe environment? I mean, the only outlet right now is a sponsor. The sponsors who usually have clauses, they're the only ones who can actually punish Sascha, which I'm assuming is the punchline for Ben, and the way that he's reported that piece is he's trying to make sure that Sascha's punished maybe by a sponsor, which is one approach. But if you want tennis to be better, I think you've got to try to focus on something else. You've got to try to figure out, how do you take a different angle on this such that the sport itself is forced to take responsibility, and not just the individual players, because individual players will hold all kinds of positions on it. And I don't necessarily need to know what that is. And I don't need to go about it in that way. But as an organization, there should be at least some approach to that. But now that Andy Murray is here and is the feminist on tour, maybe Andy Murray, has he returned to the Players Council? Is he back on the Players Council? He could potentially raise this as a policy initiative that they should establish. They could create some policy around like player behavior.
But here's the thing.
You could agree on things like, if you do this, then you're going to be suspended this amount of games, or this amount of tournament, or something like that.
We as a human entity need a sport that has a big following and governing body already in place to take the lead on this. And we don't have that. To be honest, we don't.
You could, right? If Djokovic was really serious about PPTA as a body that was actually really going to be about protecting people. No, but let's think about it. Like, if he had been, if that is the best forum for the situation.
Yes, you're right.
But right, if he was somebody we could have taken seriously, that could have been the competing body, right? That could have been a body that says, you know what? We want to make sure people are safe. We want to make sure they're safe with COVID. We want to make sure they're safe with all of these things. These are the things that we want. Instead, that was just about bargaining for cash, right? Which is not a bad thing, but it didn't include all these other elements, which it could have been, right? That's probably your only other option.
And
right?
it didn't, and it was. And
Here's
I'm
the
surprised
thing.
that the women are not taking the lead on this conversation.
They're
Well,
not
no,
going to take the
women-
lead on
no,
the conversation. Women are
and
never
women
going to
should
take the
not.
lead on this.
And you know what? And they
conversation.
should not. They should not. That is not. This is about men's behavior in this moment. The women don't need to take the lead on this. The men can take the lead about how to be better at this. The women should not lead here. And
we have situations.
Hold on. Wait. Let me be clear. Let me be clear. Let me understand this correctly. Why is it that you're saying that women shouldn't take the lead on this?
Because
in this
the onus
moment,
is-
she said.
in this moment, the onus is always women teach men how to be. No.
That's not what I'm
men.
talking about. No. I'm not talking about teach men how to behave. But I think I'm surprised that women haven't been able to push for these kind of policies.
Well, you know what? If
The women in tennis don't push for any policies, period.
Well, let's be honest. If this was maybe something that was impacting a WTA player, I could see how then there would be room for the WTA to emerge.
There's no reason for them to get their hands dirty in this.
And I wouldn't go in here if I don't need.
I wouldn't touch this with a 10-foot pole.
Sorry, let me just say, because one of the things.
Sorry, yeah, we jumped down on your throat.
No, it's fine. I'm always here for being corrected. I am not the world's favorite feminist, Andy Murray. But as we were discussing this, I thought this was really interesting because as this situation stands right now, in my head, because I watch a lot of true crime drama, it leads the ATP is liable and all sort of nefarious things can happen. These players are traveling all over the place. What happens when they conduct criminal activity in one country and move on to the next country? And all this sort of behavior, I am surprised that there isn't a code of conduct stringently in place, because people having temporary visits and having this sort of global access to around the world. A tennis player goes all over the place, literally pre-COVID. You know what I mean? And God knows what kind of nefarious activity that happened in one place. And I know there are horror stories. And why I mentioned about the women saying something, because they probably would know about the situation and be more willing to talk about it. Very often when men are creating the policies, men are trying to find loopholes for themselves.
Listen,
that may be true. However,
they're not being genuine in the interaction.
The approach is all wrong.
But the WTA hasn't even dealt with the fact that potentially some of their players are being sexually abused by coaches.
Right.
Well, I'm surprised. And that's what I'm talking about. That players are not talking up about these issues.
So let's talk about the NBA for a moment. I don't think that it's happened yet. It's something that has been talked about by the NBA commissioner. But when situations of domestic abuse arise, like I said, there's no policy directly against domestic violence. It has to be some type of felonious assault or, charge. Felonious a charge. So, however, the conversation in
meaning
the NBA,
that it has to rise to the level of a felony. Okay.
Yes. So, but the conversation that is being had openly in the NBA is that when situations like these arise, we have to provide an avenue of protection for those involved. We have to have a space where, if this is the wife or a girlfriend of an NBA player or partner, they do say partner. So any of those, anyone involved with an NBA player, we need to investigate and provide a place for them to go to report. We need to have consequences strictly for domestic abuse, and we need to be able to provide rehabilitation for the offender. And that's a big thing. We talked about privately, is it okay to say this athlete did this and your punishment is we're going to take away the livelihood. We're going to take away your money. We're going to take away your ability to, because that is the punishment right now, right? It's the punishment in the NBA. It is the punishment in the NFL. If this is the charge and we believe you guilty, you're not allowed to play. You're not allowed to make money.
But this is only if a felony charge is made. Though,
No, that's not true. That's the NBA. The NFL does have a domestic violence policy. So just as a whole, though, neither of these two huge governing bodies in America have a route to rehabilitation. And that's a huge thing, because let's talk about this realistically. When you abuse someone, when you physically abuse someone and you hurt them, this is not typical behavior. This is abnormal behavior. We need to fix the reason why this is happening. And there are a few different things behind that again, we talked about prior. So I think two of the biggest things that nobody wants to talk about are performance enhancing drugs, because we know the side effects of these. This isn't new. It's always been there. And temperamental issues are a side effect of performance enhancing drugs. We know that athletes use these. I'm not accusing anyone of anything. I'm just saying that we know it's prevalent in sports, period. It's not up for debate. It is there. And we know the side effects of these are roller coaster emotions, sometimes violence. In sports like soccer, football, hockey, all of which are contact sports and have a higher rate of this type of abuse than other non-contact sports, we have the issue of CTE, the disease that affects athletes when they have repeated concussions. We know that this changes the way that people function, the way that they think, the way that their brain works. These are all things that we don't talk about because we don't want to tie that back to something outside of the sport, like domestic abuse. We don't want to say that maybe this person was on drugs and the side effects is that their temper goes from 0 to 10 in 2.5. Nobody wants to say that, because then you got to admit that your athletes are using drugs. No one wants to truly say that someone has been repeatedly hit over and over and over and over in the head, because we know that CTE isn't always just about concussions. It's about that repeated smaller trauma that happens to the head, and over a period of years, over and over and over, that changes the way that your brain functions. And we know that one of the things that happens with CTE is an outburst of anger.
Well, Janina, I'm willing to go down this road with you. Very well. So, but again, you see, I'm going to go back to real life outside of sport, because most of the men beating on their women, and let's be honest, most of the domestic abuse that's happening, the emotional, the financial abuse is men onto women. It happens reverse, but most of the time, and also men on men, and women on women too. That most of the time it is in heterosexual relationship. Not that it makes anything better or less, but I'm going to use these terms, mostly men. But it doesn't necessarily track out in society, because a lot of men who are beating on their wives, or the people who are beating on their partners, are not involved in contact sports. They're not involved in sports in general. But I think we also have a culture. I think there's something we had when we were discussing this earlier last week. It's the culture around athletes, and also the culture around family dynamics, where the provider is the one in control, and like, you can get this out of you can beat on your spouse and this other thing. And also, we don't know, a lot of these people come from domestic abuse, domestic dysfunctional
their family
home
history.
Yes, and it sort of repeats itself. We don't know these players' behavior with alcohol, and people's relationship with alcohol and drugs. We'd love to believe that drugs is not part of the equation for athletes, but
we know
alcohol,
better.
We know better, but we can also say alcohol is probably plays a larger part in this situation, and the dynamics of winning, losing. They're in a high pressure situation, and that's also one of the triggers. But again, we as a society have not figured out how to deal with domestic abuse again on a whole. So I'm not surprised that it doesn't happen. It's sports is finding the difficulty in doing it. Maybe it's a better place of doing this because they have resources available. They have money. They have the will, because you need your star athletes out there performing. But again, a lot of times we've noticed is that society's larger impulses outweighs the financial one. People feel like they want to do certain things and don't concern about them leaving money on the table, or potentially leaving more money on the table. They're just looking at some of the money. So, I mean, I hear all of that, but I don't know. I don't know if professional sports is going to be the place, because again, this is a place that it's a toxic environment for any issue, for science, you know what I mean, for like climate issues, for like
I don't
issue.
even know if it needs to do that. I just think one thing that I mean, listen, the question is, what are its responsibilities to create like a work environment that is safe for everyone?
I think the very basic answer to that is to acknowledge that there's a problem. Acknowledge that there may be a problem. And not only punishment in terms of you're not allowed to play because you did this. Because if we think of
give people
a path to recovery, because this is not normal behavior. Help them understand why they are behaving the way that they are and help them correct that behavior. But the truth is, if you take, let's be real. If you take a professional athlete who has a contract of $20 million a year, right? And you say, you're not allowed to play for 6 games and you're not going to be paid. Is that really going to hurt their pocket? It's not. It's fucking not. It's a goddamn vacation.
It depends on the sport.
No, it doesn't depend on the sport. It doesn't. If you have a $20 million contract, and you say you're not going to get paid for 10 games, you're only going to make $11 million this year. Is that really going to hurt their style of life and their way of living? Absolutely.
Do you know the most dangerous time for a woman in an abusive relationship or abuse partner in a relationship?
And when they've decided to leave, no?
When they decided to leave.
I don't disagree with that. I'm talking strictly about the perpetrator and the punishment that is put on them. When you have people who are making millions and millions of dollars, and their punishment is that you take 2 or 3 million away, but they're still going to get paid $17 million, that's not
that's why you don't
punishment.
But that's why you don't make it about just the money, though.
Money, though. I just think.
But right now it is. That's the thing. Right now it is. In all governing sports bodies who have a rule against domestic abuse, that is what the rule is. You are going to be cut off for X amount of time, and you're going to lose this amount of dollars. That's what it is. So what I'm saying is, if that's your only punishment, but you still got $15 million or whatever to look forward to, even if it's only 2 or 3, I mean, like, come on. Are you going to be mad at getting $2 or $3 million? No, you're not. For going out and playing 90 minutes of a sport? That's not a punishment. It's not a punishment.
So what do you want? What would you like to see happen?
I said, I would like to see a program that facilitates rehabilitation. I would like to see a program that facilitates victim advocacy. I would like to see a program that is designed to maybe
prevent it
happening for altogether, that addresses the issues in some sports, contact sports especially, that we know if you get repeatedly beat in the head, you're going to act like a fucking asshole. Period.
But contact sports are not even willing to acknowledge that of themselves.
They're not. You are correct, but I'm saying that would be ideal.
So but let's take it back to the tennis situation. Right. So for the tennis situation, given the fact that they don't have actually a very good model out there, right? I mean, as you say,
we do not have a good model.
They don't have a model, nor the impetus to do so.
We don't have a good model in any sport, though, honestly.
But I think one of the things that's noteworthy about it, though, is because tennis is a sport where there are, as Reels was probably suggesting earlier, before I jumped down his throat, is that this is a sport in which you share the platform with others, right? You share it with women who may very well be the victims of domestic violence, right? And so it becomes this opportunity, just like it is in terms of salary and what athletes are making. It becomes an opportunity for you to maybe jointly put together something that surrounds the issue in an interesting way, in a different way, in a new way, and calls on players to take responsibility, not just from a monetary standpoint, but to actually like create something for which the player can like take advantage, right? To say, you know what, not only which is funny because it's interesting how people wanted to control Nick's behavior on court.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted him to go
I
to
was
therapy.
about to mention that.
They wanted all of these kinds of things.
Well, the truth is, in tennis, there are already a lot of rules in place that would encompass this. Should the governing bodies choose to,
they should choose to expand it, right? I would
They
assume so
don't.
because they have
They don't
like
even have to. Adrian, they don't even have to expand it. They're already there because we already know that tennis rules are subjective. We already know this.
They could apply it. They could apply it.
They could apply it. They could totally apply it.
Should they choose
but,
you know what?
But I think.
They could say, you know what, Alexander Zverev, you were at the U.S. Open when this event happened.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the ATP can't say anything at that point. It's the ITF has to say something at that point.
It doesn't matter who. Somebody should just say something.
But I think
someone should acknowledge the fact that this allegation was made and do a formal investigation. Period. If it comes to nothing,
but I think Pablo makes an interesting
they may be, but you know what? It should be public knowledge that a tennis player of his caliber or any caliber, but especially Alexander Zverev, a tennis player of his caliber, has been accused of domestic violence. We should be hearing from the governing bodies that at this time we have no proof, but we are investigating. Period. Say that.
But also, I don't really care.
But I think Pablo.
I mean, the caliber is probably the reason why it happened. But
sorry, say that again.
I said the caliber is probably the reason why it happens.
But I think
that's why they get a pass.
Combination.
Pablo points to something I think
and money.
Pablo says something where he says the root of the problem is tackling any kind of abuse concerning professional sport is legally enforceable, and I think that's where this is where I think it's one of those things where I think a lot of times things are clearly ambiguous for specific, intentionally ambiguous, because what would happen if Sascha turns around and say, you can say you're going to do this, but you can't stop me.
Oh, no, they can't. And they can sue it, and he could sue them.
And he could sue. And I think they don't want to.
Yeah. That's what they're afraid of.
Well, I mean, that's exactly why they're not acting.
He has the resources to sue them. Because if it, and again, we don't have the public will on this matter because Sascha is a golden.
Hold on. Pablo keeps saying they have said they are investigating, but I'm going to tell you what.
They didn't say
They're not saying it loudly. And that's the problem.
Well,
say
I think
it fucking loudly.
Well,
shout it from the goddamn rooftops.
The reason why they're not saying it loudly is because instead of asking players how they feel, I don't think we have reporters calling up the ATP.
Amen.
And asking them to make a stance or to say something.
It's because we're all friends here.
Or any of that. I mean, I think you know the method. The method to this is to humiliate and embarrass the players enough such that they make the demand. That's how reporting in tennis works. It's like you embarrass the players individually enough such that the players get to a place where they say, I'm tired of having to answer these questions from these reporters. ATP, do something. And then the ATP will then be forced to actually issue some statement. Because that's the approach to how we deal with these things. You force the players to take the hit for the organization as opposed to the reverse. The thing about how would you enforce a domestic violence policy? All you really need is a confirmation of a case, right? So if, for example, if somebody is abused and you now know that there is actually a policy in place, would it then mean that it's triggered if the victim goes to the police and then someone finds out about it? The police would have to confirm it, right? Or are you looking for someone to say, this has been levied against you, and while we investigate, kind of like with drugs, while we investigate, you have to these are the things that you have to do in the interim until we make a.
It would be, you're right, Andrew, and you are 100% right. It would be nice if the ATP came out and said, we're not going to discuss an ongoing investigation. I agree with that, Pablo. I agree with that 100%. However, this is our policy. and this is how we rectify the situation. We don't have that because there is no policy in place and there is no form of rectification. We don't have that. That's the issue. The ultimate issue is we have none of that. So if the ATP could come out and say, we are investigating the claim that Sascha Zverev did this to Olga, whoever, and should this come to fruition, this is the punishment, or these are the consequences. Say it however you want, but we don't have that in place, and that's the ultimate problem. I don't have an issue.
I see this thing, Janina. Lovely Drama Game makes a good point. The ATP, ITF, and WTA needs to have a policy that any DV occurrences in a tournament site, affiliated hotel, and facility needs to be reported. Yeah. So it's kind of like a kind of mandatory reporting thing. So like if you see it,
I asked the question. If that's, I agree. I absolutely agree with what Lovely Drama Girl is saying, and I think we all would agree. But I asked the question: what happens to the organizing body? Because in the legal world, if a woman reported her husband punched her in the face and she said drop the charges, this case can no longer go forward.
That's fine, but that's the
problem. The problem isn't in the proof here. We're focusing on the wrong thing. The problem is not in the proof. The problem is there is nothing in place to say this is what's going to happen if we find out it is true. That's the ultimate issue. It doesn't, all of the stuff that leads up to that, it doesn't matter. It is not important. There is nothing in place right now in tennis that says if X player is found guilty of domestic abuse, this is what happens. And that is the case in many, many sports. That's the ultimate issue. It isn't whether this is, there's enough evidence or a legal case or anything. But none of that matters. It just matters that there is something in place to say, after we go through all the things and we comb through all the evidence, if we find out this is true, this is what's going to happen to you, and this is how we move forward.
And it doesn't even have to align.
We don't have that.
But it doesn't even have to.
I'm not saying that's just wrong. What is wrong about that?
No, but the thing is, for me though, listen, separately from this, it doesn't have to. Like, for example, when the ATP deals with a drug issue, right? It has nothing to do with whether you've been found to have cheated. Like, there's no court, there's no like legal precedent that means that you have to go to jail. That is just the court making, that's the tournament and the sport making a decision about what is appropriate behavior. So if in their own investigation, they feel like they see something has happened and there's a serious allegation against, and everyone admits it happens, but nobody wants to go and press charges, that's separate. That's separate. It doesn't have to. It doesn't have to end up in a legal situation. You could decide internally as an organization that there are behaviors that are appropriate or not appropriate, regardless of whether there's some legal outcome or not.
And we can have rules in place for that.
Yeah, you could do that. I mean,
listen, Pablo, I get it. They investigate serious allegations. I get all that, but at the end of the day, there is no policy in tennis or in many other sports that say, should these allegations be true, this is where we move on from that. This is what happens. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that, they should just be like, oh, fuck you. You were accused of domestic violence. You're out. I'm not saying that at all. I don't even believe that, because there are many people in the world who would, just for, trying to get a piece of cash, go, he hit me or she hit me or whatever. I get all that, but we should have a plan in place before it happens to say, this is how we are going to handle this situation. Should this all be proven true, this is how we will deal with it. And the problem is we don't have that.
Can I ask a question about this, Justin? Because of the way they handle it from the drugs perspective, in the drug situation, everyone is tested, right? And they have proof that you. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, it could be a situation where a fellow player saw something and reported it, right? In an abuse situation. Do you think it would be important for this investigation and its finding to be made public. Because do you notice that happens with drug things? Oftentimes, for a long time, it could be a claim that happened behind the scenes. The player takes the punishment, and you just never knew about it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you, in a situation in which the police or no other entity is involved, do you think that people need to publicly know? Or should it be one of those situations where the player is just gone for some period of time?
We've kind of seen this though, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it necessarily, because the status of that situation involves another person, the victim, right? So I don't know if that necessarily needs to be made public.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think it's a situation where, typical to how they handle drug and doping issues, I could see a scenario where it doesn't even have to be made public. It could just simply be something that is dealt with internally if the person has chosen.
Right. And I do think at some point it will come out if they go to the code of arbitration.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. If it goes there, it usually goes.
But
for
again,
a while, they actually kept it secret. Remember, that was a thing. In terms of full transparency, they started to say, well, now we're going to share this
information. They kind of still do.
Yeah. All right.
What I do find, again, I'm gonna say, like, where you're trying to imagine a world where domestic violence is taken seriously, and I can't even think of much public, even private companies, like, regular office workers, it's usually a matter of saving face. Their response is to save face.
Almost.
I think it's tricky because the only thing that you have license to do, I think, in most scenarios, just because
if it happens at work.
Yeah, but also it's just the way we conceive of these issues, and I don't want to go down a long road, but I think the way we conceive of these issues are so like siloed. The only way that you as a company could potentially deal with it is like, I'm going to fire. That doesn't actually solve the problem, right? And so,
right. But that's if it happens at work, though.
Yeah, if it happens at work, but I'm just saying that doesn't actually solve it, right? It doesn't actually.
You should still have an avenue.
You don't have any
problematic behavior.
Yeah, if you're entering into a relationship with these, which is what you're doing with somebody long term, like this is like it's a contract of some sort, and you say, we believe in Sascha, we think that he has the capacity to get better. Then what you ask him to do is to go down a road of working to get better, which is admit that this thing has happened and then go through a process by which he gets to the other side of it. That's not an approach that we take to any issue. We don't do any of those things. We just want to say you need to go and goodbye. There isn't any opportunity for you to say, listen, we expect you to be playing with us for the next 20 years, 20, 30 years. What are you going to do to correct this behavior? How can we support you in that? Which I think is actually something that would be wonderful to see, because sports is a huge thing for men. It's a part of their lives. It's not just it's beyond their livelihood. It's part of their self-identity and all of that stuff. And so normally I can imagine a scenario. That's the kind of scenario I would like us to work towards, by which you have some victim policies where you're making sure that the victim is taken care of. And then you also are making sure that these men who you're making a ton of money off of are also getting to a situation where they're.
And that is my point. That is my absolute.
And you also need policy around how are these girls are just running around the place.
Well, then you'd have to stop running a whorehouse like you think you are, which is what the case that Pablo says is where you think that women are objects and you need to bring them in to service these players. Because if you think of women as objects to service, then you're not going to really be mindful of how they're treated, right? And so that's also that's the sticky point of all of this, right?
And I just want to address something that Pablo said, because he says, that's not true, Janina. The NFL sets out what happens if a player is guilty of domestic violence. And you are correct. However, getting there is a fucking struggle.
It's a long journey.
It is a long road. It is a huge struggle. And you know what? Good for them for having something in place. My point is, let's have something in place for all of the sports. Let's not have Floyd Mayweather's child saying, my dad kicked and punched my mom in the head under oath and nothing be said about it. And let's just book his next fucking fight, because it's going to make millions of dollars for HBO. That's my issue.
That's tricky.
But
you'd have to evaluate companies on lots of other parameters.
Exactly. And I'm telling you, HBO executive is asking, but did you deserve it though? That's how
But
they're
you
gonna
know
handle
what,
that
Reels?
situation.
Here's the thing. Boxing does have an international governing body, but because it is, again, an individual sport, just like tennis, we don't address it on that level. We just don't do it because certain people are our money makers. I mean, let's be real. Let's
Girl,
be
look, listen
real.
to me.
If
Oscar
Roger
De La Hoya.
Federer, no, let's be real for a moment. If Federer all of a sudden has a domestic abuse case on his shoulders,
Mhm.
do we say you don't play? No, because he fucking sells seats. We
But that's
ignore
gonna
it.
affect his brand
The
though, because
A-
that's part of his
It
brand.
will affect his brand, but you know what? The ATP, I bet, doesn't say a damn thing.
Well, they had a possibly child sex situation with Stan and whatever. So, look, we're dealing a war with a lot of problematic people, and I think this is just. I'm not dismissing the whole situation. I think we're making an excellent point here in a whole, but the work that needs to be done in order to get to a better place is large, and it's work
It
at the
is. We
community
need rules in
level.
place and we need methods of rehabilitation. Rehabilitation is key. It is key. We need to say, listen, if this is where your mind is, this is where you can go for help. Period. That's what we need. And we need it to not be shameful.
Well, would that be a debatable issue? But I do think we do need help, and let's just not get
Let's wrap
this.
it up.
Yes, I know. This
Wow,
has been
you
a
went
very
down a deep road. So you started with OnlyFans, in which we were trying to help people make it through the COVID by paying some extra cash.
well, but this is another type of help, though.
No,
I guess I wanted to sort of wrap it up like we were discussing. I mean, like,
Listen,
so-
hold on. Wait a minute.
oh my gosh! And then you go here, and then
How can you go here?
You go here. Okay. I don't know. I think we've just
You
the
know,
whole
brand has
point is
just
that
experienced some level of bipolar.
you could be your own. I guess the punchline is you could be your own whore, but we want to make sure you're taken care of. So you're not a whore, but you be a sex worker with rights and all the responsibilities taken care
So
of
at
for
the
you.
end of the day, this is our year-end wrap-up, and it's November. We typically do this in December and say we'll be back in 2 weeks.
Well, I don't know when we'll be back. I mean, we'll have to.
We're never coming back. This is it. We're retiring. No, I'm kidding.
I mean,
well, tennis might force us to retire if it doesn't come
Mhm.
back, is it? So can I just say, like, I know it's been a short tennis year, and if anyone is still with us, but like, what was like your favorite tennis moment of the little bit that there was this year?
I got some shade for you. We kind of talked about it. You didn't like it, but I fucking loved Rafa beating Nole's ass.
You did love that. That's when you came out as a Rafa fan. To all the people who thought you
We
were
don't need
just-
to talk about that. I am not a Rafa fan, but I was in that moment. Okay, we don't need to label Janina as a Rafa fan. That is unnecessary and untrue. However, in that moment, I was like, "Yes, Lord."
You really hate Nole.
I fucking hate that Serbian devil with a passion.
My gosh, I felt a little pain in my heart for Nole.
I didn't feel shit for that motherfucker.
I know.
This is what you get. Listen, very rarely do we see Novak get a true beatdown. And it's weird, right? That it always comes at the hands of Rafa or Federer, the old guys on tour. Like, come on, guys, young ones, step up. But whatever, it is what it is. We enjoy it. We thoroughly enjoy it. And I thoroughly enjoyed that.
I really loved, I think I'd mentioned this before, but I really loved the players watching other players at the US Open.
That was amazing.
That was lovely.
Eating, doing all manner of things. Like, it's just, I mean, I think then I made me realize what I actually like about Laver Cup, which is, I guess I like watching players watch other players, because to see them get tense, to see them get engaged in a point, and I know it was an utter disaster, but I still think that final between Sascha and Dominic team was a train wreck of immense proportion, and it was so bad. So I laughed so much at the choking in that final fifth set that I'm definitely, if there's an opportunity to watch it, I think I would I will watch that again. What? look at lovely drama girls telling us that she loves Gail's Twitch stream. He wore suits. What?
I know that Twitch stream. What? I'm gonna have to ask my little one about that.
You need to
I don't know about Twitch. Like that's way out of my wheelhouse.
Deborah's favorite moment was Naomi getting off the mat to beat Vika and Novak being disqualified. Deb, you are salty.
Listen,
Deb, I did love that. I did love that. Deb, I mean, like, we shouldn't be hanging out, Deb, because
that happening was like something that you never thought would happen, but it happened, and you're like, holy shit, this is history here. Number one player in the world disqualified. Get the fuck out.
I mean, to me, the universe definitely conspired against Nole. It's almost
this year.
COVID was like, you didn't take me seriously. Watch how I'm gonna wreck your life.
I will admit to the fact that Nole fans might have reason to be bitter this year.
No,
let me tell you something. I mean, and here's the thing. Here's the thing that I love about this thing with about Nole is that they can't. I mean, they're gonna blame Federer anyway, but the rest of them are gonna be like, you don't even have any proof. Like, shut the fuck up. like, shut up. Your man was a. I mean, like when Nole is like, I want to talk to somebody. He want to talk to a manager. Nole is definitely Karen of the WATP, right? He's the Karen of the ATP.
Karen.
But he's like, remember when the Man Arena situation happened at the US Open? I need to speak to the governor. I need to talk to him.
Pablo says his favorite moment, the winner ceremony at the ASB Auckland Classic with Serena and the cape.
But I have to say, I did enjoy Naomi's journey through to the. I enjoy her summer. She was really excellent. I thought, it's better than most. I mean, like it might not have hit in all of the buttons, but it hit most of the buttons. You know what I mean? And I think she was thoughtful, and it's very clear that she reads. And I always appreciate people who do the reading. I could see their citations. Okay, I love me some citations. I don't want to be quoting our favorite sociologist, but she's like, I love me some footnotes. And Naomi had the footnotes, and she was repping for the black people. And then like, remember I said this years ago.
Oh, but you know what? This is an oldie but goodie. In terms of off court, I actually really enjoyed a couple of Venus's. Like, I liked her show that she was doing early part of COVID.
Instagram live show.
The Instagram live show. I think that told me what should do. And to me,
she should have done more.
You know what? And I want to know, like, she should have a show on the Tennis Channel. Like, I know it's like not necessarily something they love to do because I think they must have like a limit of how many black people they can have on that channel. But I think that Venus should have like a lifestyle show on that channel. Why doesn't she have a lifestyle show? She'd be so great. They should gobble up every single tennis personality and give them shows. And I think Andy Roddick should have his own commentary with Chanda Rubin. I'd love to see those two comment matches.
And Virginia Wade drinking.
Pablo said the doper retired, and that was his favorite moment. Who's the doper? Oh, Sharapova. My God, we forgot about her.
We talked about the fact that 2020 just washed her.
Oh, and it washed out Kim Clijsters too. How can I forget that? It just washed out Kim Clijsters'
that bitch will be back.
I mean, Kim. I mean, nah. I think her parents are just like, "Mommy, we gave you 1 year and it didn't work out, girl. COVID. It's a sign from God. Stay home. Make some."
I would play to see Chanda and Rubin. Chanda and Andy. Let's call it the Chanda and Andy show, and they just call matches for
that
real.
Would be amazing.
Because
that would be
gold commentary.
You know, that was the most jarring part of the COVID tennis. Is that the same old people? It was just like, oh my God, they didn't
take a chance. They didn't take any risks. Bringing anybody new. I was like, it was so funny because I saw Tennis Channel finally admit that. They were like, oh, one of the good things about this is that we finally were able to bring in Andy. And I was just like, I don't understand why you've had Andy Roddick just sitting at home this whole time.
Amen.
It's so weird.
And giving Lindsay money. What the hell is that?
It's just so boring. Listen, if you listen, if you can find a way to actually listen to Lindsay, she's great.
She's
I mean,
good.
no, I ain't got
No,
I ain't got time to
boring.
listen to
You know
that.
what?
Your voice is boring.
You know what? But I will say about her, considering how much shade and horror she gave to the Williams sisters.
Thank you.
She's generally very fair when she's calling
Yes,
them
she
matches.
is. Yes,
I'm surprised because she was.
I think from distance she has some clarity.
Yeah,
I mean,
like she was
and I think
not
she's
nice.
made peace. She has been made some peace. She has made peace with the fact that, you know what, these bitches just had my numbers in the finals.
Exactly, and I'm
fair.
glad that she came around to it. But I generally do like Lindsay Davenport.
I like her commentary. I still think she looks like a fucking pound puppy.
I would prefer Virginia Wade on the nosh, you know, having herself a little glass of wine or two and, you know, giving it. And, you know, because, you know, Virginia Wade is pretty good with just like, what are you doing, girl? Like, what do you see? That's my style of commentary. Like,
because moving forward, I think the Tennis Channel is going to own most of the coverage apparently now again.
God.
And so what they
have to pay a shit ton of money to watch, fuck that.
Which means that they need to figure out how to lively up that channel. So
they need me.
They do. They just need to we need some shows. I said so. Venus does a lifestyle show. Somebody, maybe some Frenchies do something. Like the other thing is, why can't it be a little bit more international in scope? Like we have players from all over. Why do they all
stop? This is an American channel.
I know, but it's like it's an international sport. Have fun with it. You know?
That would be ideal. So listen, since this is our wrap-up show, do you have a favorite 2020 moment?
We just said that.
Oh,
where were you for the last 15 minutes, girl?
I mean, I was here, but I just thought
we've been trashing. We've been discussing it right now. Janina's been having her dinner. Janina, were you drunk? Are you drunk, Janina? We've been talking about this for the last 10 minutes.
Whatever.
I mean, I feel like we've been just going down this canal of things. So
no, because we never won. We never won.
Fine. Okay, fine.
You mentioned your favorite moment was Nole disqualified.
I did, but.
Yeah, other favorites? Go ahead. We usually pick 6.
I know.
You are right. And I totally do not have 6.
Okay, so there was one thing we talked about, y'all, that we didn't mention, but we wanted to talk about this. So because the World Tour final, it was the last final in London. And so we had this off-court discussion that they really missed a moment for fundraising. Like, would you all have been open to watching some version of a kind of exhibition experience at the World Tour Finals where they ask us to pay or contribute, almost like some sort of weird telethon sort of experience? And like maybe it's pay-per-view, right? Or you call in and you donate.
But what are you gonna watch? Which platform you gonna watch it on, though? I mean, that's
that's what I was saying. It could have been. So we were talking about the fact that we thought that they missed a really good moment. They missed a moment to actually bring the sport together, highlight the fact that it was a difficult year, and then do some fundraising for players who made no money this year, and then allowed us to contribute.
It would have been
could have phoned in. Would you all watch? Would you all
listen?
I
honestly,
would not for that. Listen to me.
I probably personally would not have. However, I know that the tennis community is strong and they would have come together and they are focused on tennis and not necessarily COVID. And they would have paid to watch COVID tennis, you know, and that would have been great. And the funds could have been distributed to players who needed the money, not, you know, Novak or Rafa or
maybe that he thought it was a good idea, but he wouldn't have paid for it. Well, I was just thinking about it because, like, one thing
it's a great idea. Actually, it could have been like a telethon.
Like, and you remember how they used to do those like reviews where players would like perform things, but like I could have seen like what you could have done was you could have asked players to do something like I know that Monfils has been practicing some dances at home. He and his girlfriend could have done a routine.
Definitely won't pay for that. But you see, but this goes back to our original point about players, though. These players are lazy. They don't do anything. The infrastructure for the hit for Haiti and whatever. First of all, let's not forget that hit for Haiti was a hot mess with Andre Agassi. Okay, talking trash to Pete Sampras. But that was a structure that was already in place.
It could have been, it may have been a hot mess. It may have not been what we would have hoped for, but a structure like that in a situation like this during a pandemic to raise funds for players of a lesser caliber would have been an amazing way for the tennis community to come together, support each other, and they totally fucking missed the boat.
Not when Dominic team and they like them at that
Well, we
time.
don't need to talk about
They're
crabby
selfish.
guys ever.
I know, but you know what it could be? It could have been like, you know how when we all got together and we made sure the high school students graduated and it was like tape performances, tape things, different things. It could have been that kind of scenario. That's all I'm saying. Like, it was a missed moment. Yes.
It was a huge missed moment for many reasons. It would have been, honestly, though, seriously, it would have been fun for fans to participate in, and it would have benefited the greater good. In tennis, you fucked up.
And you could have brought old players.
Because the truth is, nobody's watching the World Tour Finals. I didn't even know they were happening.
But I would have shown up if you promised me that a bunch of tennis players were going to come on and do various things at different points in time for maybe like an hour. I might have shown up. I might have shown up and said, "What? Who's going to do a dance routine? I'm showing up for that."
But you see, herein lies the problem. Most of these players are uninteresting. They just
well, I'm not counting on.
You had Novak Djokovic. You had Novak Djokovic there. You had Rafa Nadal there. They're not interesting, but they have a big fan base.
Yeah,
and you know what? Novak. So it was something like it was an opportunity missed. I fucking hate that when I sit down with senior leadership and they're like, "Oh, that was an opportunity missed." But in this case, I think it's true. It was a true opportunity missed. You had some big names in tennis there. You could have done something with it, and you totally fucked it up.
No, Pablo, I'm not talking about the Adria Tour because that was just tennis. But you could have done like a multi experience, like surround it with different things. Like they inserted and plopped in Federer in an interviews format
because there were no fans. I see what you're saying. Okay, I get you. Yeah,
you're right. You know what I mean? Like you could have done like
there were no fans. Ooh.
Messages of solidarity.
Yeah, like people coming on stream doing something weird and funky, like whatever. Just for like an hour.
This quirky tennis challenge. Bounce the ball 100 times.
You do. Everyone who did like a version of the wet ass pussy dance or something. Whatever. I'm just saying. You find your talent and showcase it for us for like an hour. I would have paid to see something really. I know they're cheesy. Stop it! You're gonna get us fired. Pablo's
I feel like a few seconds here and there is gonna be okay.
You're so funny. Pablo's like, all these tennis players are boring. I can't believe you all. I think the WTA would have had some fun moments too. I didn't say WTA only. We could have had Emma come out with her makeup. You know that makeup? She could have come out and demonstrated how she put that all on together.
No. Let us give our well wishes and get the fuck out.
All right.
I'm also happy that the fans, that for another, this is probably what?
I know. It was a nightmare, Pablo. I just created it for you. I'm just
16, 17, 18, 19. This is our 6th season. Oh, wow. Just so you know, folks. I know.
Thanks for hanging out.
My longest relationship.
Oh, I mean, I totally bogarted my way onto this podcast and I never left, and here we are.
I mean this and Harry Potter later. Well,
Andrea won't stand any slander for Harry Potter on this podcast. You could mouth off, you can roll it all you want.
No slander. No. Are you all finished? With your Harry Potter?
And I'm trying to get them to read. I'm trying to get Philip Roth to be the next book.
We can't read another book until we finish this, and we are not even anywhere near finished. We have at least 5 more.
We do highbrow and lowbrow with that kind of establishment.
No, Pablo, I only mentioned Yes Drama in blackface because I think for some weird reason we all reacted to it Monday when it happened, and the internet just found it.
Really? They just found it? Yes. This is how tennis is. This is how tennis needs to realize it is such a niche market.
Exactly.
This is what I want to tell you.
What?
This is my wish for next year.
What's your wish?
I wish for all the old motherfuckers that have been dominating the tour for the last decade that should be long gone, come back strong as fuck and dominate some more.
Look at you. You wishing for a Federer renewal. And
to the
also,
men.
Andreen, just remember this date. Today is November 27th because you know this bitch is going to be the first when we had that draw show. She's going to be like,
Shut your
I
mouth.
just need somebody new to win. I'm just tired of these old people.
No. I have thought about this.
But I know she saw that US Open
No.
finals and she was like, I'm not here for any of that.
Listen, I am convinced that this is going to benefit those that needed some rest. This is the time that some things have healed that couldn't heal before because there just wasn't enough time. I am looking for a strong 2021 from Federer, from Venus, and Serena. Everybody else can kiss my motherfucking ass. Oh, Sveta, I'll put you in there too.
You know
Everybody
what,
else.
I'm actually up for a nostalgia tour. I'd love to watch Venus in the final at Wimbledon.
I want the Olympics that I think are probably not going to happen. I want these players to come and do a strong showing and have this great swan song goodbye at the US Open and after the Olympics. And you know what? My heart will be full and I will be okay with that.
Look, I'm sorry. I don't think necessarily tennis, from the way I see it's operated this year, it's not necessary for 2021. Sorry. And I would say that 2020 COVID ATP tennis was illegitimate. It is. I don't think it was relevant. And nothing.
I don't know. I think Naomi's run at the U.S. Open was really.
I said ATP.
Oh, ATP.
I was very clear. Very clear. Very clear.
Good. Okay.
The ATP was just illegitimacy, and I'm sure Nole would agree with me after that French Open.
He's like, cancel all the numbers.
I've listened to me. So if I have the number one player I'm backing at this point, I know I'm in good. Because he always bring points to the table.
Before we go,
the WTA I think was just like, I think tennis needs to organize itself and reorganize itself. It won't happen, but I do think I do think, and all sports should organize themselves together to find a solution to this problem, because it's going to be sports. Pro sports is all over the world, but hope springs eternal.
Well, so Janina and Reels have given their wishes. Fans that are watching and chatting with us, what are your wishes for 2021? Please let us know. I know, Tony, according to you, nothing counted after Auckland. That is probably true.
You guys, I think it's really weird that we're ending our year in November.
I know. It's back.
Girl, we had the French Open in autumn. What are you talking about? Like, you need to get your weird meter together because it's off the radar.
I know. Okay, fine.
And by the way, it's like probably 70 degrees and we're at the end of November too. So
wait, Deb, you want Federer to get to 31? How many titles he got?
Deb, honey, I don't think it's happening, but if it does, I'm happy. I'm happy. I will celebrate with you on this podcast.
I hope you're counting wheelchair tournaments, right? Because let me tell you something. That can't withstand this mess.
No, I'm just teasing her. We knew it was 21. You know what's so funny? I told you though, I had a dream years ago that Federer got like 22. So it's happening somewhere.
Did you get some lot of numbers in that dream? Because if you don't get some lot of numbers and hit it, I'm not believing in these dreams.
Pablo wants Serena to win 24 and 25. She can
retire. She needs better dresses though, Pablo. She definitely needs to get the outfit together. She got the attire together. She gets the.
You know what, though? I do have to say, I do think, and I think we had a separate conversation somewhere offline somewhere. I definitely think that they're going to have Wimbledon next year.
Oh, for sure. They'll figure that fucking shit out. But
they're
if they
like, you can't be the only one.
I think they're going to have a prime minister first before they have a new prime minister before they have Wimbledon next year.
Oh, could they have one that's not so shaggy haired and?
Well, that's what I'm saying, because this one is doing a horrible job.
Hey, y'all ready?
England is doing a horrible job with COVID. I mean, they're all over the place with this mess. I don't know who's advising them, but whew. I think we've gotten lucky, which is crazy.
We almost don't want to go because we're missing everyone.
We've been on for 2 hours and 35 minutes.
What? Tell us. Oh my God.
You know, this might not get on YouTube, right? But okay. Anyway, thank you, fans, for tuning us with another year. We might give you another podcast, with the political mess of this country that we all seem to live in. And is there a place where you can all run away and hide? Because I don't know. Antarctica might be an option.
I need us to find an island, and I need you all to have houses there.
Infrastructure, okay? Janina's gonna need TikTok to be okay there.
Mine is an island so that I can be there.
Listen, I love TikTok.
So fans, welcome. Don't forget, there's always content on all of the platforms, Harry Potter. But thank you for enjoying another tennis podcast for the year. And we might give you a special podcast, like one of our specials.
You never know.
You never know.
That'll be fun. That'll be a surprise. It'll be like Janina asking us the question 20 times.
It's like, let's have it. Hey, people, what's your favorite 2020 tennis moment? What?
Oh my God.
We never forget. We treat you like, Janina, I'm so sorry. We treat you like little sister, and it's so unfair.
I know, it really is. It's fucking bullshit. And
but you know what?
Wait. I like that. Let me see. So, Lovely Drama Girl wants Gail and Noah to have a coaching thing. I'd be up for that. You all stay safe out there. I'm gonna stop eating leftovers. I need pizza. That's my contribution.
I know. I was thinking about that. And it's not fair. I saw a woman on TV. She said that. She said on Twitter. She said, "I've already have all this leftovers, but I want some Chinese food." I'm
over my food. I'm over the Thanksgiving meal. I'd like new food, please.
You're over it already?
Yeah, yesterday where I was, my friend made turkey soup. I just say, can you sit the fuck down? Like we're supposed to be eating. Like, what are you doing? Like cooking still. Like
that's real.
Let it go.
We have to say, Angie, you have to share in the chat. Share in the chat. I hope everyone is seeing all your travel, your travel goodies. Please.
And you know what? You should check out the interview that I totally hijacked.
Angie's out here telling you how to travel.
Angie and I had a great interview. She was live on Instagram.
So Angie, here's a tagline for you: travel when you're a bitch on a budget. Does that work for you, Angie? Trust me. She gives you all the classes, so
she'll tell you all the things
you need to do. So, Janina, we have well past 20 seconds. So, good night, y'all, and good day.
Take care. Bye.
Take care. Enjoy. Hopefully, you survive 2020.